We're back after the lunch break on the second day of the third test match between the West Indies and England from St. Lucia. England were bowled out this morning. A little bit of a whimper in the way the England tail sort of, what's the word, subsided, I think.
Capitulated.
Capitulated, but West Indies had a couple of overs, 3 overs in fact, to bat before lunch, and they managed 2 runs without the loss of a wicket. So England, who were all out for 277, will lead the West Indies by 275 runs, and they have, of course, all 10 wickets remaining in their innings. I've been joined for this session by 2 extremely capable and inventive broadcasters. On my left, I have, reading your tweets, it's Tony Bishop.
Hello, Fred. They lost 6 wickets in the session, remember. That's not just a tail that fell apart. It's
most of the middle order.
It's most of the middle order and the tail as well.
And playing your jingles and generally offering words of great wisdom, on my right, it's Andy Ward.
I would say I am inventive when it comes to making up anecdotes and stats and things like that.
We love it when you make up anecdotes, and making up stats is a greatly underexplored vista in cricket broadcasting. And we're delighted, if our listeners have any stats they'd like to make up, then just send us them. If they're good, we'll read them out. Anyway, so we will be back very shortly after lunch. We've just been enjoying some football. If you're a Chelsea fan, look away now. It was 4-0 to Man City after about half an hour, and to be honest, Chelsea were a bit lucky to get none.
They were pretty shocking, weren't they? A couple of tweets, actually, that have come in during tea time. Cricket Without Boundaries Global, CWB Global, says, here's your 2-hour warning. Tune in to hear Julia Farman and Flitwick Ferg on guerrilla cricket at the tea interval. Yes, indeed, we are indeed meeting with those 2 individuals and thoroughly looking forward to that conversation. So don't tune off at tea time. There won't be highlights. It will be a very interesting conversation indeed.
There won't even be lowlights. They're back. The players are back in the middle, and John Campbell, who pretty sure made his debut in the first test match of this series, am I right in thinking?
He did, he absolutely did.
So this is his 3rd test match. He has yet to get off the mark. His partner, who has been obdurate most of the way through the series, he's battled very hard, is Craig. Well, now how do you pronounce his surname? There is, I've heard at least 3
Brathwaite.
different words. Well, Brathwaite is pretty obvious, but in the West Indies they were calling him Brathett. Brathett.
Ooh, that sounds...
Brathett.
Well, I think we should go with the local pronunciation.
Well, yeah, but then I heard somebody else local completely differently. And they're playing here in St. Lucia, where the ground and outfield is made to look like a dartboard. So coming in from the double 3 area, straight after lunch, is going to be this man.
What would make Broad walk?
If his stumps were knocked down.
What would make Broad walk?
Caught 5 feet off the ground.
What would make Broad walk?
If he trod on his stumps.
What would make Broad walk?
If God was one of the arms.
What would make Broad walk?
I think that's the pavilion in, Fred.
And he's in now, bowling, and this gets the shoulder of the bat of Campbell, an involuntary stroke. It squared him up. It went off towards the gully region, but it bounced a couple of times before it got to the man at gully. So some aggression from Stuart Broad, who bowled terrifically well in Antigua. I was privileged to watch a lot of that live, and I have to say I don't think I've ever seen Stuart Broad bowl better. Certainly bowl better without any success, or until he took his first wicket he was bowling absolutely terrifically, and he could have had 3, 4, 5 wickets early doors. Wasn't to be, and West Indies got first innings lead that was conclusive in the match. The next ball is outside the off stump, and Campbell leaves it in through to the hands of Bairstow.
John
it
Campbell,
is it is this batsman.
Opening batting, he bowls off breaks as well. He's gonna get you, John, get you, Campbell. John is coming for you, Campbell. He is on his debut, John Campbell.
And he's beaten outside the off stump. This one, right arm around the wicket is Broad to the left-handed Campbell. It shapes in towards him and then moves away, jags away. And he played a shot at it, but was comprehensively beaten.
As you said, Fred, his 3rd test, he's posted 44 and 33 in Bridgetown, 47 and 11 not out in Antigua.
Yeah, lots
so
of
he's
starts.
always got some runs and got himself underway, hasn't he?
And him and Brathwaite have done some sterling work at the top of the order by just blunting the new ball attack. They've had a bit of luck. They've probably earned a bit of luck. As Broad comes in and bowls again, this is the outside half of the bat. Well, it's square driven. It's gone past the point fielder. They've taken one. They're going to come back for the second. So that's Campbell off the mark. West Indies are 4 for no wicket. And judging by that noise from the green room, we may have had a goal in the other game, possibly. Yeah, I don't know.
Got a few people on Facebook Live.
Fantastic.
Amir Jan says good. Jawaleed Armani, hi Cricket Live, good. And OK, Sajid Khan Afridi, very good. Thank you, and keep tuning in on Cricket Tracker.
Hello, I'm glad you could join us. And no, it's still 4-0 according to the BBC.
It's 4-0 here as well.
Yeah, 4 for none, West Indies, as Broad bowls and beats a genuine defensive shot from Campbell.
Honestly, the way Chelsea were defending, I could easily see that
They could
score
be
changing before this one.
136 for nil. Yeah. Arthur Shear says, with one innings to go, Keaton Jennings has scored 758 runs at 24.45 in his Test career. During the same innings, extras have scored 491 runs at 15.84. However, in more than half of these innings, 16 out of 31, extras has outscored Jennings.
How do you divide the extras? Is it dividing by runouts or something? How do you have an
Good
average?
point. This is again outside the off stump, and Campbell has learned from his earlier mistakes in the over. He doesn't play a shot at it. The end of the fourth over of the innings, West Indies are 4 for no wicket, 273 runs behind. Any more tweets, David?
Well, I'm just wondering about Arthur Shear's calculation there. I would imagine he just took the number of extras by the number of innings and didn't make allowances for if any had been run-outs or anything else.
Extras can't be out.
Yeah, precisely.
They can be run-outs.
Messi Jez says, Ravi, let me start with Ravi now, who I believe had a birthday recently, so many happy returns belatedly, Ravi. Ravi says, huzzah! It's the gloomy not Fred here to comment on England's demise. We're doomed, with loads of O's.
Who's we in this instance? You never really...
huzzah! It's the gloomy not Fred here to comment on England's doom. That's what he actually said, if I got that right.
Mr. Head Gloom is in the green room.
You're happy to comment on anybody's doom, aren't you?
Brathwaite faces up to Anderson, and this is a slow ball outside the off stump, which dies as it gets through to Bairstow. He took it about ankle height.
Right, who's going to be first? Let's do Jimmy.
Jimmy, 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 aja, aja, aja. Jimmy, 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 aja, aja, aja. Jimmy, 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 aja, aja, aja. Jimmy, 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 aja, aja.
We're seeing somebody in an inordinately stupid fancy dress costume. I don't know what possesses people to think I'm going to sit all day in the
sun.
sun.
And someone dressed as a bird next to him, yes.
As this one is probably a genuine play and miss by Brathwaite. He did essay a defensive shot, but the ball didn't seem to do very much. It just went past the outside edge.
And I shall complete my jingling with this man.
Craig.
Jingle must be sacrosanct.
I think it's a men with Ven jingle, and as Jimmy comes in and bowls to Brathwaite, and it's on off stump, and he defends it into the leg side. He did once record a whole jingle for Temba Bamuva before he was changed. He told his name was actually Bavuma, and he had to re-record it. So I wouldn't rely on men with Ven, which is why everything in that jingle rhymes with Uva rather than Uma.
As in Henry Uva.
Yeah.
Messi Jez says, interesting to see whether West Indies can outscore Manchester City. So he's on the same wavelengths as us right now. Currently Manchester City 4 for none.
At half time, yeah. And
are you going to bet over 12.5 goals?
No, I'm not. But Chelsea are 1,000 to 1 to win this game, as this is angled or edged down through the vacant third man region. It's going to be the first boundary of the innings. It is.
So it means City are going to have to score 4 more in the second half.
I've got 4.
Well, QPR were 4-0 down yesterday, and they came back to 4-3 and missed a penalty in injury time.
They did.
But they do have some previous in that regard.
Yes, they do, unfortunately.
Dr. Dan sent a fantastic picture of Moen being out. I have retweeted that to everybody. And Arthur Shear has clarified his methodology. He says extras cannot be not out. Jennings was not out once.
Right, but how do you work out how many times extras were out? That's our question.
He's just giving them one out per innings.
Yeah, one out per
Okay.
inning. So therefore, assuming an innings is
Yeah, so-
one.
So they are always out,
Yeah,
whereas Jennings can be not out.
I think
In
that's
theory.
reasonable.
And in fact,
Yeah.
he was once, yes.
Jimmy, up to the crease, bowls, and a defensive shot. There's a possible mix-up, and he's sent back, and he would have been out by
would have been.
miles
Yep.
had he been hit. Campbell, he turned round, was sent back by Brathwaite. Who picked up the ball there? Who is that? Is it Denley?
Denley?
It's probably, I don't know who it is. It's probably Denley. And he shied at the stumps. He had enough time to pick his spot, and he would have been 3 yards short and missed the stumps from about 15 yards.
Yeah, he almost got to the middle of the wicket, which is marked by that confluence of the darts
the
sectors.
star,
Yeah,
yes.
he almost reached the bullseye, I should
Yes.
say. Yes.
Oh dear. Well, it's not technically a life, but it's certainly a let-off for Campbell as Anderson bowls again, and this one again keeps low. It's a full ball just outside the off stump. Campbell doesn't play. Brathwaite doesn't play a shot at it, and it sort of dies. I don't think that's. I don't think that says very much what the pitch is going to do. He would have been gone by 3 or 4 yards. He'd given up, and whoever was throwing the ball, if we think it was Denley, probably had a little bit more
A
time
bit
to
more
set
time
himself.
to line himself up,
Yeah,
yes.
rather than throw from the position of
Being slightly off balance.
with your
maybe.
feet not set.
Yeah.
Anyway, 5 overs have gone, 8 for none.
So just going back to that John Campbell jingle, it took me a moment to place it. I wonder if you can place it, where this
don't know if
jingle
I can. Well,
where
here
this
it again.
jingle comes from. West Indies, John Campbell.
Opening batting, he bowls off breaks as well. He's gonna get you, John, get you, Campbell.
You have to ring a bell. There's broad
Oh,
bowls
well, it should ring a bell
to Campbell.
because it's AC/DC, Hell's Bells.
Well, that's why it doesn't ring a bell, because I don't know any AC/DC.
They used to bring
probably because they're terrible. Anyway, that was a dot ball.
well, they used to bring a big bell on stage for that, so it's quite appropriate you should say that. yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Load of rubbish.
Had their moments.
Yeah, well,
Poet Travert was answering actually messages, so I might wait till after this ball because I have to read both for it to make sense.
okie doke. Stuart Broad will be bowling it, and he'll be bowling to John Campbell, who again nudges this down square of the wicket on the offside, just like playing there, towards the point field, and no run.
Messages had said some 50 odd minutes ago, so England's last 5 wickets for 21 runs. Isn't this the tail that's supposed to be super effective? Still, I guess there are certain collapse quotas to be met. Poet Travert had responded, aren't England playing 11 tail enders?
No, I think Mark Wood is a place or two too high at number 9. But funny things happen at the end of tours in terms of selection, and some funny things have happened all the way through this West Indies leg of this tour as far as England selection is concerned.
Imagine what they could do with 5 tests.
Yeah. Well, we saw it a couple of years ago in India and Bangladesh. Odd things happened there as well. Broad ball's down the leg side. It's on the hip. Campbell misses out. I don't think he actually got any bat on that, as it probably a leg by as it goes down to Moeen Ali at long
Oh,
leg.
it's
A case of
in
getting the line wrong, wasn't it, when you've got 4 slips in place?
Yeah.
You've seen it on Australia as well. Who's that leg spinner they called up? Borthwick in Australia. For
Oh,
the
yeah.
fourth
Scott
or fifth
Borthwick.
Test,
Yeah.
Yeah, tours have got odd dynamics all of their own, and things which
They can
happen there
frazzle
seem
you. Yeah.
logical at the time. You look back and you think, what the hell? I mean, it's usually involves selecting Gareth Batty, but other terrible mistakes have been made as well. Brathwaite has 6 runs from 15 balls, which is a pretty good strike rate for him, because he's quite happy to leave the ball early in his innings, and he left a tremendous amount of deliveries at Barbados, and did good work for his team. He's facing up now to a wide ball outside the off stump from Broad, which he leaves it through into Bairstow's gloves.
On Crick Tracker, Amir Raja says new ball is very crucial. England should utilise as much as possible. And chilling words from us all, Nakul Pandey is watching.
Oh dear, that's like Big Brother. Oh Lord.
It's like being invigilated in an exam, isn't it?
Turn over your papers. Do I have time? Yes.
Talk.
Barry Goodman, who luxuriates in
Big
the
sexy Barry.
Twitter handle, exactly, Big Sexy Barry, says logically you divide the wickets lost and multiply by 10 to get an average per innings for extras.
Oh, I suppose so. This one is a full ball, which is flicked up towards mid-on, no run. I think, well, extras per innings and a batsman per... It's all a bit contrived, but he was making a point and it was reasonably well
It was
received.
well made, yes indeed.
But then again, I remember a score where extras top scored in the innings for Australia at Trent Bridge in 2015.
Dr. Dan has also sent a picture of Mark Wood's dismissal, so we're now getting pictures of dismissals rather than flowing stroke play, which probably represents the morning fairly well, I would have thought.
Well, it's still a tricky wicket, however you look at it, and there's still plenty for the England bowlers to attack as this one goes past the outside edge of Brathwaite. He was playing back when he might have been playing forward, but it, unlike Anderson's deliveries in the last over, that there was a bit of lift and a bit of carry, and Bairstow took that quite high. As it was, no damage to the West Indies. They are 9 for no wicket of 6 overs.
I know a long partnership always makes it look different, but was the wicket settling down yesterday afternoon when Stokes and Butler were in?
Can't answer that.
No, well, I didn't see it either. Did you see much of it yesterday, Tony?
Well, I was mainly at football yesterday, but I watched the highlights. Sorry, what was the question? I was concentrating on the next tweet I was going to read.
Perhaps anyone who did see the whole of yesterday,
Tell us.
like us knowledgeable commentators, could tell us if it was a bit more docile yesterday when Stokes and
The
Butler were
pitch,
batting.
yes, I think it possibly was. The ball, don't forget, was older for a lot of the time as well.
Jimmy bowls, and this is driven back over his head by Campbell. He decided to go for that one, and he's middled it a couple of bounces, and it crosses the boundary for 4 runs.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Double 3 on the dartboard that is the Darren Sammy Stadium here in St Lucia. When I say here, I mean there.
Are you counting for the dartboard spinning round when we change ends? Because that's a
double
top,
but I mean,
really,
I'm assuming, okay, it could be double top, I suppose. Well, no, it's
Well,
sort of a number 5, wasn't it?
He said into
double
the
5.
into the 1, yeah. Perhaps
Yeah.
we just do away with fielding positions and just talk about dartboard numbers.
This is on the hip of Campbell. He tries to turn it round the leg side.
To
Misses
14,
the
if
ball.
I remember correctly.
I was never a great darts player. We need Roger McCann, who is the great darts aficionado. Oh, and Liz Yates, who is a big fan of the darts. I know where by the 8s and 16s are. I get.
I always
that,
just
I'm
remember
struggling
the
a bit.
Sid Waddell commentary. There's only one word for that: magic darts.
13 for none. 6.2 overs gone. Campbell, that 4 took him up to 6 as Jimmy bowls to him, and he clipped that up in the air. He seems to have decided to have a go, and there is a big vacant area at square leg. Oh, it's gone all the way.
That's all of them.
Surprisingly, that's a biggie.
You know your love, keeps lifting. Higher.
It was a short ball on the hip, and he just played a short arm jab, and a completely safe shot because there's nobody out there, and he's middled it, timed it to perfection.
And Jimmy, not surprisingly, trudges back to his mark with a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp.
No, it's a bit like the shot that Campbell won the last test with. The last hit was
yeah,
a
it was.
6, yeah.
Anderson again, right arm over the wicket. This is full and driven, and
Oh,
goes back to
Jimmy,
Anderson.
that's how angry he
Picks
was.
it up with his right hand, and as quite legitimately has a shy at the stumps because he had taken a couple of steps forward, Campbell, and he needed to scramble back towards his guard. So it was not a petulant act. It was a legitimate shy at the stumps from the bowler.
There was some venom in it, though.
Well, look, he's
I'm not
he's
saying
walked
it's
forward.
wrong.
He's outside his crease, and he does need to get back. So there was a chance of a run out there. So it's, this one is an LBW decision. It's close. It could have pitched outside leg stump. The umpire's given it. The umpire took his time. He's given it, and I'm wondering if this is worth a review because it might have pitched outside leg stump. Campbell has been given out after scoring a 4 and 6 in this over. It has been reviewed, and I'm wondering where this pitched. Gentlemen, what do you think?
At first glance, it looked out to me, although it was a half-hearted celebration because I think England knew the review was coming.
It's going to be close, and I think the issue is going to be where it pitched.
Yeah,
Cannot be serious.
Sorry.
I can sometimes.
It's supposed to be a review jingle. I
It's-
expected a bit more there. No, that might be all right on pitching.
That looks
pitching,
in
is it too
line.
high?
It looks
It's
quite
above
high.
the knee roll. It's
Needs to
above
just
the
be
knee.
umpire's call, of
It
course,
only
now.
needs to be clipping the bails for the on-field decision to stand.
He's bowling at a
It's
left-hander.
nowhere near the bat, so there was
Definitely
no
in
bat
line.
on it.
That's gonna be
Impact in
out.
line.
it's missing!
Over the top,
Oh.
just clearing the bails. So the review has been retained by the West Indies, and England who've not had a great amount of luck
Oh my Lord.
with decisions. You know, fair enough. The DRS has done its job. Hawkeye said the ball was going over the top of the stumps, and the West Indies remain on 19 for no
Jimmy
wicket.
has the abject look of a man who is convinced the entire world's against him, doesn't
Well,
he?
he did
more
his job.
sinned against than sinning.
He did his, you know, he.
Anyway, this jingle might be more appropriate, hopefully. Sorry.
Anderson in again, and this is another appeal for a ball which struck him outside the line of leg stump. There's very little chance of that being given out. But I would like to say something about that shot that Campbell played, actually, to a ball which was pitched on leg stump and was hitting, was aimed at the stumps, and he tried a short arm pickup again over the leg side. They're thinking about reviewing this one. No, don't review it. It pitched outside leg stump. It hit him outside leg stump. Don't do it. They've reviewed it.
Surely, does the hand have to touch the arm? Because it almost looked like he pulled out of that review.
Well, I
This
think
looks like
England
a
have
reviewing.
reviewed this one, and I think this is a petulant review,
Yeah.
which is going to
It
be
is.
a waste. Or have they?
Desperation.
No, they've not. No,
I think maybe Joe Root
I
said
don't
no. You
think-
know
No,
what,
I
didn't.
think the umpire started signalling it, and Joe Root said, "No, I haven't reviewed that."
The hand did not touch my elbow.
No, he did. You need to touch the middle of your forearm with the tips of your fingers of your other hand. Now, this pitched outside leg stump, and probably would have been hitting actually, but I'm sure the impact was outside. There's no umpire's call on impact nowadays. It's either in line or it's out of line.
The hand goes.
Oh,
I like
Joe
that.
Root
Oh,
made
he
the
pump fakes that
he
one.
faked the umpire into giving the review the square TV thing. No, what?
You're
Is it a
absolutely-
review or is it not a review? It is a review.
Oh, yeah,
No,
well,
it's-
what
no,
a
it's
waste
just-
if
it's
it
just
is.
showing us, isn't it?
No,
Well, it pitched outside leg, Fred. You were 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, it never looked like it was. I mean, it's
no,
comfortably
no,
it
outside
wasn't a
leg.
just
review.
showing
Anyway,
us.
new over. Stuart Broad is bowling. We've got some idea of what's going on. This is eased down towards
You say
the
that.
third man boundary. There is nobody at third man, but the fourth slip runs back. I think that's Joss Butler, and wings it back in. 2 runs to Campbell.
Arthur Shear says, ironically, Borthwick was thought of as a leg spinner, but after his Test career, faltered, reinvented himself as a number 3, and could still have a second role after his Test career in that role.
Well, no, Joe Root went to go and make the tee for the review, but the tips of his fingers did not touch his forearm. Jimmy's going, no, is it? I don't know what Jimmy's saying, but it would have been a terrible review because the ball pitched. Quick Info says that he went for the review and took too long. And the umpire saved England a review there, as the next ball from Broad is tucked into the leg side by Campbell. He's found another gap at mid-wicket. They've taken one. They're coming back for the second. Yeah, make it pretty comfortably. 24 for no wicket. So the umpire, whoever he is it Rod Tucker, has saved England from wasting a review from a ball which pitched a ball and a half's width outside the leg stump.
I think it was Damasceno, actually. He was certainly busy. It's also worth noting how long he took to give that decision out that was overturned.
Yeah,
He had a good old think about
Well,
it.
the
Yeah,
one that
he
was
did.
too high, yeah, he did give it a lot of time for thought, didn't he?
Do you want a rugby
Process.
score?
England were comfortably
England
winning,
have
is that
beaten
still
France
true?
44-8.
Parfait, bien
I wonder if Man
joué,
City can
les Rospif.
get up that much as Broad. This is a close LBW decision. Probably going down leg as Campbell tried to flick it through the leg side again. Everything is happening here.
Too
I
high
don't
as
think
well,
they
I
should
think.
review it because I'm not convinced it was going to go on and hit the stumps. They're
Nor
talking
am I.
about it. They are not reviewing it, and this time even Broad didn't want it reviewed, which gives you some idea of how unlikely it was to be
Crikey.
overturned.
But I think you were going to mention this because it was all happening. You were talking about John Campbell's shots, and he's played about 3 in a row. Yeah.
He's trying to pick up straight balls over the leg side. He managed it with an Anderson ball which he hit for 6, but he's not really. Oh, that's not a horrible shout.
It's going down, though.
It's probably going down leg side. He's looking to pick up everything over the leg side, and he's missing them. And somehow or other, he's still there, despite being given out once by the umpire. As Broad again round the wicket, which is a slightly tricky angle to get LBWs from, to the left-handed Campbell. And this time he just defends it into the offside, blocks it into the cover region. Mid-off comes round to field, but he takes a single, 25 for none.
How soon would you bring Mark Wood into the attack? Because he likes a bit of, he'll like a bit of shine on the ball.
Yeah, no, I'll keep these two going, actually. I would like to see, actually, Broad, when he next bowls to Campbell, if he gets the opportunity, bowling from over the wicket. Because if he's going to try and pick up those straight balls into the leg side, you've got a much better chance of getting an LBW decision from over the wicket than from round the wicket if he misses, which he's done 3 times in a row. But it's not all that common. Oh, this time Broad is bowling over the wicket, but it's to Brathwaite, who it hits his high pad, goes down to fine leg. That's going to be a leg by, I believe. 26 for none. Yes, it is a leg by. Anything on the tweets?
No, not since Arthurshire.
Give Tony something to do, please.
Well, it's
It's all
certainly
been rather quiet.
Campbell taking a different approach to the 3 other openers in this game.
Yes, very much. But look at the runs on the
Yeah,
board.
the
He's
most
got 17.
successful so far, exactly. Yeah.
He's certainly looking to make things happen rather than waiting for them to happen.
This is how they played previously, isn't it? Campbell's been going for his shots. Brathwaite's been the one dropping
Yes.
anchor and
Absolutely. Although
playing a
Campbell
foundation.
was not quite as aggressive as this, I seem to recall. Maybe I'm misremembering. Broad back round the wicket to Campbell. Bowls full and driven into the offside quite sweetly through extra cover. Not timed enough for it to go to for 4. It's going to be pulled up by Mark Wood, who gets the ball back in reasonably quickly. 2 runs to Campbell, and that's the end of the over. 28 for no wicket.
With the rather strange sight there of deep square leg, obviously wearing some big thick shin pads. He'd been moved out from short leg.
Yeah.
So I've played on some outfields where I'd like some shin pads wherever I am.
Oh dear. It's those ones that just bounce about 3 yards in front of you, and you could take any kind of deviation.
I had one once on tour where there was an artificial wicket on the side of the pitch, and it was quite a while ago, and it was before they really got good, and it was a bit of a ridge on it, and someone hammered it at it, and I know this isn't possible, but I swear it accelerated off the side at the edge of this wicket and almost took my head off.
Well, they can bounce in unpredictable directions, and I was once hit keeping wicket, which I didn't do very often, but a ball that bounced a second time before it got to me and then reared up and hit me on the temple, which was... what is that? There's a strange noise coming from Tony's phone. Anyway, a new over. Anderson bowls, and Brathwaite this time getting drawn into the act of having a go. Essay's a big drive outside the off stump. The ball goes between bat and pad and into Bairstow's gloves. Let's have a look at that one again. It was a little bit wider outside the off stump. It came back quite nicely. It wasn't that far from off stump either. Could have got an inside edge. Could have hit the off stump. This is pretty good bowling from England, I have to say. They're not quite getting the rewards as yet in the wickets column, but they're not doing much wrong either.
No, putting in the right place, and a lot of the time...
Anderson bowls again on off stump, defended back to him by Brathwaite.
A lot of the time that's all you can do.
We had some discussion by commentators and others in the West Indies, exactly the pronunciation of Brathwaite's name. I'm going to say a different way each time, just to confuse the issue. Josh has put his head round the door and says, end of the over, 3-person change. Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
Oh yeah, we've been in too long here. They've obviously been enjoying themselves too much in the other room. And we have lots of volunteers in the Gorilla Cricket studios today, so lots of different voices. Jimmy Bowles and Brathwaite defends to short extra cover. No run anymore on the tweets.
No.
Well,
Honestly, it's Fred. Since you've been commentating, it's just been
They're all
just
completely
captivated.
dead and spellbound.
exactly. Well, before we
Capitulated
go off, then,
or-
yes, just given up. We've broken them. I'm expecting the comment to bowl again in a second. Or maybe
Yeah.
not.
Well, we've got
I
4
would have
balls to say
thought.
whatever you have to say. We might not be on again for another hour or two because there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
So if you... I've always said if we record our conversations in the green room and we charge for that access, that we'll make a lot of money as Anderson bowls and
Money which
Brathwaite defends.
Money
back
which
in.
you would need for legal fees.
Yeah, well, no, we'll put some relevant disclaimers at the beginning.
Anyway.
Everything in the next 2-hour comments is alleged. And
Yes.
it's not...
Speaking
been
of
proven.
money, many people suffer from having too much of it. More money, more problems. Your bank's only going to invest it in dodgy ways. You can solve that problem by sending it to us
Quite right
through
too.
patreon.com. $2 a month for our undying gratitude, $10 a month for a regular shout out on Facebook.
This is again defended by Brathwaite to full ball, probably a half volley.
It's a very solid investment in these
Yep,
uncertain times.
£20 a year for exclusive access to our archive.
Returns are not guaranteed.
Returns are not guaranteed.
The quality of
even-
commentary
or
can
even
go down
likely.
as well as up.
It certainly can. But we do need it. We do need it to keep all the elastic bands in one place in our machinery, and
Yeah.
to keep bringing you this cricket. So, yep, you can solve that problem of having too much money.
We do have a tweet, I shall tell you in just a minute.
Jimmy bowls this one is left by Brathwaite, and it does angle in back towards the off stump, but not quite far enough. Is that the end of the over? No, there's one ball to go.
Ravi Nair says, no tweets since Arthurshire, the most famous lost live album of Motorhead. Question mark.
Andy's
yes,
going
I'll
to queue
do a
up
little
a
theme tune or
change
something.
jingle
Yeah, yeah.
after this ball. 28 for no wicket, last ball of the somethingth over. As a man sees he's on camera and waves in the wrong direction.
He's wearing a rather natty beret as well, isn't he?
It's more of a flat
It's
cap
like
than a
furry-
beret.
or,
It's
well,
it's
maybe
a furry
flat. It's a
flat
flat cap. It's a flat cap. Aye.
Right,
It's a pink
scorn
flat
from
cap.
the sidelines as we don't know what a beret is. I've never seen them
Stuart
so
Broad has
animated.
very generously allowed Andy as much time as possible to queue up this change of commentators jingle by taking a good 40 seconds to bowl the last
Oh,
ball
and now
of his
I'm
over.
going. The tweets
And
are
now the
rolling in.
umpires are
What's going on
conferring.
Are they
I
doing?
think there's a problem with the sight screen. Or is signal 6? What's that about? What? They're coming off? What?
6 penalty runs.
What's
I don't know
going
what
on?
they're doing. Oh, maybe the over's finished. I think, yeah, the over's finished.
Oh, there were 6 balls gone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the
Okay.
end of the over. Here's
Then
the
we
change
shall
of
move.
commentators.
Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerrilla Crickets.
Shambles here as they work out how many balls have been bowled. Sky's images still show 8.5 overs as Anderson comes in to bowl this last ball, right arm over the wicket to Brathwaite, who pushes the ball to extra cover for no run. That does complete the over. At which point we could possibly play another jingle, I don't know. Or how are we doing on tweets, Dr.
We're
Katie Scott?
remarkably close to being up to date, which is not what it was when I left it. So well done to everyone in between.
Getting a word in edgeways.
Are we jingling?
Are we jingling? I don't know, presumably with continued spells by the
Chairman
opening.
Mao,
I'll give you something.
It's a good tune.
Ho
We
Chi
could have a change of commentators after one ball.
Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerrilla Crickets.
The West Indies have started rather more positively and rather more fluently than England. They've rushed comparatively off 9 overs to 28 without loss. They trail by 249. Stuart Broad will continue to John Campbell, rhyme the wicket to Campbell, who slashes at a ball outside off stump. It clears extra cover, plugs in the ground. It is recovered. I don't think it was Jimmy Anderson, but it did look a bit like him.
That looked like it was going further than it did.
It looked like it was going higher than it did. I thought it might be caught. It was driving very much on the up. Didn't connect with it fully well. There was a touch of outside edge in it. It plugged in the ground on this slow, soft outfield and was easily drawn in. The batsmen have completed 2 runs. Campbell rushes to 21 off 30 balls. Brathwaite at the other end has 6 off 25 as Broad continues round the wicket to the left-hander. Still 3 slips in place. He works the ball out towards deep backward square. There's a deep backward square and a long leg. Batsmen complete a single, bringing Brathwaite back onto strike. On my right, joining us again is Jason.
Hi.
Hello. Who will be playing jingles for you, dear listener. Jason, how did you get involved in guerrilla cricket?
I was here overnight for one of the last Australia-India test. So in the depths of cold weather and darkness overnight.
Broad over the wicket to the right-handed Brathwaite, who tries to flay the ball out into the covers. All he can do is hit it into the ground. It's fielded by, is that Joe Root with the fluorescent yellow sunglasses, running round from cover point, and there is no run.
That's being thrown in at the deep end, starting with those.
Yeah, there were about 4 of us, and
the batsman complete a single there.
We've
It
got.
might have been a single.
I'm not sure. I think somebody might have been sober. but if there was, I'm not sure.
If they were, there was. They did run a single by mistake. So John Campbell now on strike. I hope they were sober as a Josh. As I, of course, always by definition am. Broad will be coming round the wicket to Campbell as he stands up and surveys the field as it's set.
We've got
Broad ambles his way up towards his run-up. We've probably got time for a tweet before we start.
Sorry, so I was just thinking we can squeeze one in. Martin White says, bringing up over rates again, should there be something like a basketball shot clock to govern the amount of faffing with field that's done? A corresponding penalty for the batting side for excessive sodding about? It's one possibility, I suppose.
The question is, how would it work? Broad round the wicket to the left-handed Campbell. It's onto his hip. He pulls it out towards long leg. 2 bounces. It's fielded by Moeen Ali, the batsman. I'd say saunter a single, but they don't even saunter. A stroll would be more energetic than the pace with which they moved through. They sort of plod, I guess would be a better word.
Ravi Nair says, any way we could persuade Josh to speak a touch closer to the mic? For 2 days it has been impossible to hear my dear friend without blowing the speakers whenever anyone else speaks. I don't think it's distance, but whether we could perhaps bring that mic.
Do we need to bring the levels up on
a
this
little
mic,
bit.
Ravi, or do I just need to project slightly more into this microphone?
And Darren Stobbs says, I'm in St Lucia, went to the cricket yesterday and sat on the grass bank under the scoreboard.
Broad over the wicket, full length to Brathwaite, who prods defensively, half forward, half back. Ball squirts out off the face of the bat towards backward point, no run.
He says they briefly ran out of beer in that area, which caused a great deal of grumbling. Hopefully they've stocked up today.
Ravi, how is this unbirthday of yours?
We'll hopefully hear from him. And I'm actually up to date, which is very rare, so do tweet in.
Good work, Dr. Scott.
So I think that's a far, far bigger issue in Test cricket. How on earth do you run out of beer?
Broad this time wide of Brathwaite's off stump, swinging further away. Bairstow showing he's not quite as good a wicketkeeper as Ben Folkes.
In all seriousness, though,
dives in front of Joe Root, fumbles the ball. Root takes it at first slip.
we're worried about over rates in Test cricket. Surely it's a far bigger issue if the bars aren't pumping out the beers quick enough. And I mean this for everybody concerned, because the punters want a beer, so they're happy for the over rate to be slow while they're at the bar, but equally they want to be served quickly and get back to the stands to ignore the cricket and drink the beer.
I'll tell you what,
and the chief executives want the beer to be drunk so that
that's where the money
cricket
comes
is making
from.
some money, right?
Now, there is an important difference though in interest here, which is that from my perspective, I want the booze on sale at cricket grounds to be a lot cheaper than it is, whereas I think the chief executives want to push their profit margin up. Anderson continuing from I believe the pavilion end as Campbell pushes it out towards cover point. No run.
And how is the Spitz Burgunder at the Oval?
What have I've only ever drunk booze at the Oval that I've smuggled in. I might have had a bottle of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc there at some point. Usually I smuggle my booze into the Oval.
Very sensible. Not that we condone that in any way, but yeah, totally.
No, dear reader, we absolutely condone the smuggling of booze into every cricket
Reader?
ground. Did I say reader? Oh, dear listener.
Dear reader.
Too much Jane Eyre going on.
I divorced
Possibly. As Campbell just steps forward, little foot movement, drives Anderson on the up, back over the bowler's head, 2 bounces into the straight boundary for one of these.
In fact, yes, I've got 4. 1, 2, 3.
Bat away from the body, front foot planted but not all that far down the pitch. Slightly checked follow through, nicely timed over the bowler's head, bisects whatever field there is out there as Anderson this time drifts onto Campbell's pads, who works the ball out gently towards this very wide mid-wicket where it's fielded and the batsman amble a single.
Not shy of a held pose at the top of a shot.
No, that bat stayed horizontal for quite a long time until it's still up in the air before the ball, long before, until the ball has bounced.
I suspect the photographers like that.
Sure,
Give
they
them
do.
plenty of time, but you could be going for a run.
Anderson over the wicket to Brathwaite, who just works the ball off his pads. Very fine. It's fielded by, I couldn't see who that was running round from the long leg boundary. I hear lots of laughter coming from the green room. Bairstow again showing that he's not as good a keeper as Folkes, not taking the return throw cleanly. The batsman complete 2.
I'll take your point. You do need to be confident that the ball's going to the boundary. I think he was. Adam Gilchrist apparently once said that the best moment in cricket is the moment that you know you've hit a 6 but nobody else in the ground does.
Anderson this time, good length ball outside off. Brathwaite leaves alone on line. Lets it sail harmlessly through to Bairstow. No run.
Ravi Nair says the volume levels are better now. And he says today is doing the washing up day. So hopefully we're accompanying you doing the washing up and making it a little bit better.
I think Andy Ward's been doing our washing up here in the green room today. Thank you,
done.
Andy.
Martin White says, surely if the bars served faster they'd increase revenue. Last time I was at Headingley it took about 3 overs to get served, even worse at Scarborough.
And is this a record for England that they're whinging about the ball in only the 11th over?
No, they've
Joe
done
Root
it
is having a conflab with the umpire, seeing if it'll fit through the ball. Root is saying, oh, you can't really be making us continue bowl with that. And the umpire's saying, what the fuck are you on about? It's a perfectly legitimate ball, perfectly cromulent ball that's simply been hit a couple of times because your bowlers have served up some pies.
I think whether it makes more revenue depends on whether you have to employ extra staff, and whether if you get through the orders quicker, are there more orders, or do you just have to then have people waiting around for the next person to come up asking for more beer? In which case you're not actually getting any more money, but you are paying extra staff, so it's not therefore worth it.
Anderson in to complete the over the wicket, and he just beats the edge of Brathwaite. Beautiful probing delivery there, just slides past Brathwaite's outside edge. End of the over, 7 off it.
So here's the solution that the England fans found yesterday to the run out of beer from Darren Stobbs. Some enterprising England fans found a hole in the fence, allowing them to go into another stand and get more beer.
Oh, so they've run out of beer not in the ground but just in one of the stands.
Well done.
What I'm interested in is what tricks our dear listener has found in order to smuggle booze into grounds in which it's not entirely legitimate.
Do share your tips. Don't do it in the UAE because you might end up in prison. And we don't want you in prison. You can't listen to us there.
A friend of mine saw...
Can you not?
Not legitimately.
A friend of mine saw a chap going into Lord's. Sorry, no time for breakfast. So yeah, brought the cereal in and bowl and spoon and some milk. The big box of cornflakes reveals 2 large bottles of scotch.
Just hidden in the cornflakes.
Excellent.
That's rather good. I've often poured out a third of a bottle of tonic water or tomato juice and filled it with vodka or gin. Not quite respectively, as Broad back of a length, Campbell ducks under it, going down leg side, no run.
But when you're swigging from your ketchup bottle, it looks a bit suspicious. Arthur just says, a little known fact about all guerrilla cricket broadcasts. They're addressed to Alfred Reader, 19th century founder of the Cricket Ball Company. I quite like that idea, as if all our broadcasts are addressed specifically to him.
Yeah, I should wait till I get promoted to reader, at which point we can make even more puns, as Broad really puts his back into a filthy delivery that's sort of just back of a length, but so far down leg side as not even threatening to consider intimating troubling John Campbell, who sort of leaves it harmlessly alone. Remains 28 not out of 37 deliveries, West Indies 40 without loss.
And Pirate Badshah says, smugglers in the cricketing world are known to all require rum runners. Very good.
Good. West Indies 40 without loss. They trail by 237. England have not looked even slightly penetrating so far this innings. Been a couple of good balls, but there's no sustained pressure. Broad round the wicket to the left-handed Campbell, who once again doesn't even need to step inside a ball that's speared harmlessly down the leg side at waist height. No run.
We've not had any wood yet, have we? That was well timed.
I don't know quite what Katie's talking about there.
Mark Wood hasn't bowled any
He
overs
hasn't,
yet.
but we've not got wood either.
I did like the man who says way, saying way at just the right point.
Have you had any wood, Katie? Broad in again round the wicket, and this time Campbell is forced to play forward outside of off stump out to wide extra cover, no run.
I just wonder whether he might be a little bit more effective. I don't know, he's just got a little bit of extra pace.
A little bit more pace, he's a bit skiddier, he
Yeah.
could be useful. Also the change of line for the left-arm bowler might make a difference.
The sheer addition of eccentricity, I think, might unsettle the West Indies.
They watch him pretending to be a horse and they're just like, what on earth is going on here?
Well, you know, we've seen Darren Gough stick his tongue out, and Alistair Cook do impressions of Bob Willis. You know, this is getting to be...
Broad over the wicket, trying, drifting down leg side. There was a slight shout for a leg side strangle.
Even
clipped
Broad
shoe
wasn't
or
convinced.
shoelace or trouser, anything but bat. West Indies remain 40 without loss. This has been an utterly untroubling maiden 5 balls so far.
But not for the first time this year, it seems to me. England are in a position of a friendly team on a Sunday afternoon having no clue how to get somebody out and needing to bring on somebody to throw up grenades.
Well, that's what Wood's in the side for, to find that bit of penetration with the wood. Sorry, that wasn't deliberate. Broad in to complete the over, round the wicket to John Campbell. He plays a sort of check drive out the outside half of the bat, straight out to extra cover, no run. 40 without loss are the West Indies after a maiden over, a principally unthreatening one. The batsman only made to play twice. England wondering where they're going to find this wicket.
Ravi Nair says, so England's 2 gun bowlers have wasted the new ball yet again. Fucking doomed.
How many O's?
More than I can count.
Wait, you're a statistician.
Yeah, but I'm also a biologist, and in biology and DNA, if there's more than about 3, it always gets it wrong, and you get weird DNA coming out. So that's what's happened with me as well.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, N.
Yeah, basically. Alan Hotchkiss says, we saw the West Indies bowlers bowling on a driving length, and what is Broad doing? Banging it in halfway down, and just filth. Horrible, horrible filth.
Yeah,
He's the enforcer, though, the enforcer!
You're absolutely right, Al. I mean, the West Indies have shown that bowling on the driving length, tempting the drive, is the way to get the wickets. And before they bring in Wood, there is a change of bowling. However, it's not Wood. They've not got Wood. And Jason on my right is going to jingle him up. He's going to jingle him up. He's going to jingle him up. He's going to jingle him up.
Our bed shouldn't touch. Move over Amla. I like it too much. Move over Amla. You're one hairy dish. I love
The level's slightly too high on the jingletron.
It's Moeen Ali.
Ali over the wicket. Brathwaite is tempted to dance down the wicket. He decides not to. Instead, prods the ball harmlessly, softly, with those very soft hands into the strip. No run.
Durban Oak says, if only I could go back to reader level and get rid of all this admin bollocks.
Ali over the wicket, moves the ball into the right-handed Brathwaite. It's fielded at short leg. No run. Interesting, Woy Pom. To hear that you only get saddled with admin at professorial level there. Here that is very much not the case. Ali over the wicket to Brathwaite, who this time drives fiercely straight down the wicket. It's fielded very well by the bowler, hit hard at him, not cleanly, looks painful on the left hand, but nonetheless well stopped. Another dot ball. As Ali, no, that was a action replay of his wickets earlier in the season. This time floats it up and it's prodded down towards short leg by Brathwaite. No run.
Alan Hodgkiss says, Moeen Honour's first change to get the over rate up.
Possibly.
It's a bit early to be worrying too much about that.
Maybe just to show Mark Wood, you know, who's boss.
Yeah.
Ali in over the wicket, and this time Brathwaite does come forward. He tries to work the ball out just towards the onside, but he can't beat mid-on. Coming round, saves the single. No run.
Adrian Morris says, Broad was pretty good for the first few overs, no? Not too sure about the constant short stuff now, though.
I mean, as Jason says, he's trying to play up to his enforcer moniker, and in doing so, he's showing no danger of taking wickets. Ali in to complete the over. This time, Brathwaite takes a firm stride forward, prods the ball out towards extra cover. It's fielded by the bowler moving round to his left. No run. At the end of the 13th, another maiden. The West Indies are 40 without loss. Brathwaite has 9, who faced the over off 37. Campbell at the other end, about to face the next ball, has 28 off 41. Are we to see another change? As the man who doesn't say way says, come on, get him out.
Old Fart at Play says, get a cold box, pour your alcohol in, maybe 2 bottles of vodka, fill ice box with ice and place your soft drinks in cold box. Once in ground, get a cup, fill with ice and hidden alcohol and top with soft drink. I think that sounds like an excellent recipe.
So effectively you're using vodka as cooling fluid and then drinking it. It's not a bad tip, although why not just drink cooling fluid? It'll get you more pissed more quickly than vodka.
And vodka does taste awful. But I suppose that's what probably
tastes like alcoholic water.
It's one of the reasons that I don't drink, that most of the easy entry-level alcoholic drinks have vodka in it, and I hate vodka. Wine is awful, it's just vinegar.
You don't want to sniff of it?
No.
Yes, he is ending.
No, we're not seeing a change. Continuing, will I think be Stuart Broad. Does it smell anything like vinegar? You'd have to let it go off before it smelled like vinegar.
What entry-level drinks are you drinking?
As Broad comes in to bowl the 4 pro pre-anti-penultimate ball of this over, it's again back of a length and leg side-ish. Campbell, he sort of pulls out of a pull shot and sort of chops again, but this time after the ball's passed, harmlessly down past his left hip. It's taken by Bairstow, no run.
Martin White says maybe Wood could chisel a couple of wickets out, perhaps nail Brathwaite LBW. He could even splinter the West Indies batting order.
DIY jokes there from our own Martin White. As Broad fiddles with his field before coming in to bowl the pre-anti-penultimate ball of this over from round the wicket to the left-handed Campbell, who this time does pull out towards deep backward square. The batsman complete a single.
Seagrave Saab says, a friend told me that old Jamaica ginger beer bottles, brown tinted, disguise white wine or Pimm's beautifully in a bag. My friend's bag. My whiskey gets through in an apple juice bottle too.
Good call. As long as you're not trying to pass it off as cloudy apple juice.
Martin White says, oh no, we've just had that one, haven't we? Adam Stockwin, I don't think England can win today unless we have a Moeen hat-trick. I mean, I'd be impressed if we did.
Win or have a Moeen hat-trick?
And Chris Drew says, has John Campbell been signed for a county this
Broad
summer?
over the wicket, bowling the pre-anti-penultimate ball to Brathwaite, who prods it out towards point for no run.
That's a really depressing way of thinking about life. That everything is the anti-penultimate ball, even if you've only just started the over.
Well, the first ball is the 4 pre-anti-penultimate.
Exactly. That you're just wishing your life away.
Do you think?
Yeah, it's terrible. Can't go through life like that. So if anyone knows whether John Campbell's been signed for a county, let us know, because I don't actually know off the top of my head.
This time it's the anti-penultimate to the right-handed Brathwaite, who finds a little bit of inside edge onto pad before the ball prods out along the ground towards short leg for no run. Brathwaite going back to the 80s with Velcro shoes, tightening them much more quickly than it takes to tie shoelaces there.
Well, you're a poetry professor.
Senior lecturer.
One of those. Do you know there's a poem called Rising 5, which your attitude always makes me think of? I'm trying to think who it's by.
I don't know.
It's a 20th century one, which is fairly rare for me, because I sort of stop reading poetry once it gets to the 20th century. But
penultimate ball of the over, it's filthily wide, pointing at Joe Root at first slip. Bairstow steps in front of him to take it. Brathwaite leaves it alone, no run.
Got a few more tweets.
Which attitude of mine are you talking about, Dr. Scott?
That everything is heading towards the end of the over. It's everything's only relevant in terms of its position relative to the end of the over.
Relative to the last things.
Yeah. Arthurshire, Short, Fuller, Quicks, Roach and Joseph were more effective than Taller Gabriel. England have got about 13 foot of combined Broadwood.
Excellent, good work. The ultimate ball by Stuart Broad. It's good length, it's just outside off, it just beats Brathwaite's off outside edge. It's 1 run off the over, the end of it. The West Indies after 14 are 41 without loss. Just too much to beat Brathwaite's outside edge there. Beautiful, beautiful ball by Stuart Broad, who's just demonstrating that if he can put the ball on a driving length, I mean, that was actually just slightly back of a driving length, and Brathwaite was trying to play a defensive shot, and even then he couldn't quite get to the ball, which did slightly too much to beat that to find that outside edge. But that's the kind of line and length they do have to be bowling in these conditions, is it not, Jason?
He looked really disappointed, Stuart Broad. Really disappointed that ball hadn't got him a wicket, and I was so surprised by that because he's normally such a calm character. Yeah,
he's he never throws a strop. He never gets leery. He never gets pissed off with his fielders. Generally, his attitude is astonishingly positive, is it not?
Absolutely.
Branscombe Ravens has sent us a fantastic GIF about smuggling booze. An effort from the Cheltenham races. Someone drinking out of what appears to be a pair of binoculars.
Good work.
I want to retweet
Marion Ali round the wicket to Campbell, who plays a premeditated sweep out towards deep backward square. Chasing after it is the wicketkeeper Johnny Bairstow, who I think has sprinted from behind the stumps out to the long leg boundary and just about kept it in play. The batsmen have completed probably 3 in that time. Premeditated sweep against the spin by Campbell. Very, very well executed stroke out towards the vacant long leg boundary. The only question is, has Bairstow? He has indeed got his hand off the ball. It wasn't Bairstow, I'm sorry, it was Stokes running around from slip just before the ball reaches the boundary.
Racist.
Yeah, these white men, they all look the same, or these gingers in particular.
Racist.
As Moeen moves the ball into the right-handed Brathwaite, who works it on the ground out towards squarish leg for no run.
I'd love all the manufactured alcohol smuggling contraptions. I'm sure we've all heard or seen of the
Ali in over the wicket, starting too close to Brathwaite's leg stump, moving it further from it, fielded at fine leg. The batsman complete a single.
The big baguette that's not a big baguette, but I like the beer belly. So you need not to have a beer belly in order to wear a beer belly, which you can then siphon beer from in order to generate your own beer belly.
We have got.
Is this like padding that you wear under your clothes?
Yeah, so you've got a bladder of beer strapped to your chest, like a sort of suicide beer bomber.
It's like a wine bra.
If you like, that's yes.
What's a wine bra?
Well, it's when you have a bra that has like empty pockets in that you can fill with wine.
Ali round the wicket to the left-handed Campbell, who prods the ball not entirely convincingly, but with soft hands down into the ground. No run.
And then you normally have a straw to drink out of it rather than like a tap or something, which could be quite awkward. But this is something that women seem to know about and men just have never heard of.
That's because we've got beer bellies.
Beer bellies, yeah. Clearly.
As this time Moeen bowls from slightly wide of the crease, drops slightly shorter. Campbell watches the ball onto the middle of the bat, turning prodigiously would be doing Moeen a favour, but markedly, and it's played back down the wicket, no run, and this time completes the over. Campbell steps forward, thrashes the ball out gently, if gently one can thrash, towards long off for an ambled single to complete the over. The 15th, at the end of which the West Indies are looking untroubled at 46 without loss. John Campbell has 33 off 47, scoring far more rapidly than his captain Brathwaite, who has 10 off 43.
Durban Oak says, I was senior lecturer in the UK and associate professor in Oz. I didn't have anywhere near as much admin as now. Doesn't mean that I do it.
When I wonder why did you leave the UK, because admin loads in British universities have ramped up.
Well, he says some of his money is from the UK, and it's therefore admin for the UK because he's got a Newton grant.
Yeah, but it's not just grant associated admin; it's departmental admin, which is ratcheted up. I mean, schools and departments now have to have not only chairs of exam boards and directors of studies, but also assessment and feedback leads and equality and diversity champions.
I've I've applied for funding to do a study on this.
Have you really?
Very good.
Or was that a joke?
It's a joke.
Oh, do you want a cue when you get to the punchline?
Ouch. Short third man. says,
Meow.
I think.
What I want to know is how much admin time you've budgeted in the CAP form for the costings and pricings form for the grant application, and what's the FEC of the grant? Anderson back, replacing Stuart Broad, back of a length, just beats Campbell's bat. It splays off the pad towards gully, no run.
Short third man says, I think England also should start looking for a Campbell, if not the next best thing, a bell.
A camp, is that a Camp Bell joke?
Bell, maybe.
I think we had a very Camp Bell. He was wonderful. Anderson over the wicket. He's not had much of a rest. As Campbell tries to flay him through the offside, can only find the bottom edge. It squirts out towards very short mid-wicket. No run.
Alan Hodgkins says, does Root know that they picked Wood?
Has Root got Wood?
And Martin White says, beer trousers like incontinence pants in reverse?
What would they look like? And, do send in your sketches, dear listener, as to what these beer trousers would look like. And if they look good, we'll patent them on your behalf. Anderson over the wicket. This time it's jagged back in towards Campbell. I think there was a touch of inside edge, because if there wasn't, it was a very good shout. No run.
I think we're up to date on tweets. So
good work.
Well
I'd like to see
everyone.
that in replay, because if there was no inside edge, it was an exceptional shout for LBW. Oh no, it's high off front pad and then back thigh pad, squirting out, no bat in it, squirting out off said thigh pad towards square leg. No
We were
run.
talking about cool boxes in the context of...
Anderson over the wicket again to Campbell, this time Fuller. Campbell plays a beautiful cover drive just off the front foot. It races away past the man running out from cover for one of these. Either we're having a stroke or someone's making a toast in the green room. Can you two smell it as well?
Yeah, I think we're all having a stroke or someone. And
Are we all having a stroke, or are we having 3 strokes?
Occam's razor suggests it's probably someone making toast.
Yes, indeed.
Arthur
Anderson over the wicket. This time it's down the leg side of John Campbell, and it's called a no ball. And it's called a no ball. And it's called a no ball.
Over the line! Huh? I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
As we see the replay, and Anderson's foot is well in front of the line. The line which belongs, as not Fred Tismus will be delighted to hear us say, the line which belongs.
What does that
to
mean? It doesn't mean anything. It means
umpire.
nothing. The line belongs to the grounds person, the
Anderson
ground
in
itself.
over the wicket again to Campbell. This time it's again going over. It wraps him on the front pad just above the knee roll. He can't get his bat near it. What it means is that in order...
I know what is meant by
so
it.
why the fuck are you asking?
I find it might be annoying, but it does actually remind me quite well where a no ball starts.
In contrast with tennis, where on the line is in, on the line, in this case, the crease ends at the back rather than the front of the line, as it were, as this time Campbell once again very, very wristily plays that, or rather doesn't play that, sort of chopped ball, swish down onto the ball after it's gone in order to get his bat out of the way. Taken by Bairstow, no run.
Arthur says, here's a mental image for you. Johnny Bairstow having to complete the cap and other paperwork to justify why he should keep wicket.
The cap form, oh, excellent. That would be great fun. God, I've got a grant application to finish writing by tomorrow.
Alan Hodgkins says, if Bear is there, tell him City have scored again.
Bear's not here.
He's not here, but we're all happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was about to run through the scorecard before lunch when someone switched the Wendy ball on, so we couldn't do so, and Katie had to do so on her phone. But because we only have one Sky connection, we had to switch the Wendy ball off in order, dear listener, to provide you with ball-by-ball commentary here from Sydenham on the proceedings at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St Lucia. Are we having a change? End of this over or right now? Now we are having a change. Therefore, Jason will play the appropriate jingle. I will hand over to. You may not have believed that he's been in the ground in Gorilla Towers today. So little have you heard from him other than on that wonderful Vaughan-free jingle. I will hand over to the one, the only, the inimitable Nigel Henderson, who will be taking over from me in the ball-by-ball chair.
The best things in life are free.
I feel like I should be running in a bit.
Just like Gorilla Commentary, we need money. That's what I want. .com/Gorilla Cricket. We need money. I don't like the BBC.
No, we don't like the BBC, but unfortunately...
I prefer Gorilla Commentary. I want money. $20 for the archive. That's what I want. Or just buy a t-shirt.
I feel like after that introduction from Josh, I should have ran in, jumping around like Graham Norton does on a Friday night.
Or like one of the contestants on The Price is Right.
Oh, Price is Right,
Run
yes.
down the stairs.
And fall over at the bottom. Oh, we've got a lovely view of the Pitons, and that's the best view for England fans at the moment because the West Indies are batting very well, 51 without loss in reply to England's dreadful 277. Well, it may not be that dreadful, but they collapsed again this morning. Wickets fell. They were 231 for 4 starting the second day. 46 runs added, 6 wickets lost. And more wickets for Roach.
Yes, hasn't he bowled beautifully in this series?
Tremendous. But when they talk about this being a new dawn for the West Indies cricket team, I wonder because Shannon Gabriel's already 30, and Kemar Roach seems to have been around for a few good years.
He must be 31 or so.
Yeah, so they're going to have to make hay, pretty shortly, aren't they? I think Tim is here alongside me, Tim Part, and Knuckle Pandy on my left on the tweets.
Yes, indeedy. We've got a few. Short Third Man says John Campbell's highest batting average is in Test cricket, which is now 50 plus. In first class cricket, it's 30 odd. In List A, 20 odd. In T20, 9.
Ooh.
Martin White says, gotta say, can't see a wicket coming anytime soon. Hashtag attempted a curse. And Riviere says, I like the line belongs to the umpire, and I will fight Jason for the right to its being said whenever necessary.
I love the idea that does he come out with a line each day and put it down there?
And then he takes it back again.
Yep. Moeen's going to bowl into Brathwaite, who just eases the ball into space on the offside. In comes Broad to field. They take a single, 52 for no wicket. Now, what do we reckon? They were swinging it all over the place, weren't they, this morning? Or they were swinging it quite significantly.
And all yesterday.
And yesterday, although England batted pretty well. I thought Stokes batted superbly. Yesterday, when he'd got to about 15, I thought he looks in the mood. Okay, he did get that reprieve, didn't he? But I thought he batted well. Got out to a poor shot again this morning, though. Campbell, 37 from 54 balls. He's a revelation. He's great fun to watch. He goes back to this one, trying to steer it into the onside off his hip, but the ball just makes contact with his thigh pad, and there is no run.
I particularly like his leave. It looks as though he's spotted a tree that needs chopping just off to his left.
And
his right, rather.
I like his straight drive in the air as well, to be honest. That's turned a little bit from Moeen as Campbell just pushes forward, and from behind the stumps, Bairstow comes to do the fielding, picks up the ball, throws it back to Moeen. They make an interesting pair, these two, because it seems to me that one of them goes off like a steam train and the other sort of just fiddles around for a little while. It's quite a good little division of labour. He's down the wicket to this one, driving firmly up through mid-off. There is a man back, so just a single.
Yeah, and you'd imagine it would be Campbell doing the biffing and Brathwaite doing the blocking, but it hasn't always been like that.
No, I think the one innings it was Campbell, the next innings it was Brathwaite. Was that at Barbados or was that at...
Yeah, that was in Barbados. They reversed roles.
They did, yes, absolutely.
I'd love to find out what the England dynamic is, but never lasts long enough for us to find out.
Well, this is true. This is true. A slip and a forward short leg, and it's a very flat arm ball. I think that was a genuine arm ball, that from Moeen. Don't necessarily see that too often. Just a little bit of curve on it, away from the right-hander. Final ball of Moeen's third over. Brathwaite settles down, looks up, of course, captaining in the absence of Holder. And he goes back to this one, gets right in behind it and defends it in front of him. That is the end of the over. West Indies 53 for no wicket.
Short third man says, England, this isn't working. We need some extra pace. Also England, pick Wood, but don't bowl him.
It is extraordinary, isn't it, that how England do this. It's almost like, oh, you pick someone. Who am I going to mess around this innings?
Yeah, it was Rashid in the first test.
Yep.
Bowled fewer overs in the second innings than Joe Root did.
Yes. Well, I don't think he'd have got much joy in the last couple of tests. I don't think he would have been picked had he not had to go home for his
for the birth of his child.
The birth of his child, who I don't think has come yet, because they were still saying he's still waiting for the birth of his child. Brathwaite 11, Campbell 38, 53 for no wicket. Some extraordinary costumes on the grass bank. A man is now on his back in a stripy suit, doing something unmentionable. Again, there seems to be an incredible delay before the next over starts. What on earth is going on? It's Jimmy Anderson to bowl. It's 7 overs, none for 27. Here he is to Campbell. He's in, and Campbell plays that ridiculous leave to one outside the off stump. One of these days, he's going to just pull it across, get it wrong, and chop it down onto his stumps. Now Anderson is feeling the wrath of Mr. Tucker, who's not happy about where he's landing.
I actually went there. No, you went there.
That's a warning. It's a warning
point.
for Jimmy. Jimmy had a warning, didn't he? And was it the first test?
Yes.
So that's another warning for Jimmy. And if he does that again, he won't be able to bowl for the rest of the innings. And that will really help him. They'll have to give Wood a go then, wouldn't they? Really. Although,
well,
you're never sure. You're never sure. I think he's. Hang on, let's have a look. I think he's.
No. The left foot definitely lands in the danger zone.
His left heel over half the foot in the danger zone.
3 slips waiting for a catch, and they don't get one here as there's a solid forward defensive shot from John Campbell towards extra cover, and again no run. 53 for no wicket, and West Indies on course for a. Do we call it a whitewash or a blackwash?
Maroon wash.
Maroon wash.
I've been calling it.
Okay.
Shouldn't we call it a wash of colour?
No.
What spin cycle is it? 53 for no wicket. Here comes Anderson in and onto the back foot this time. Campbell to a ball just outside the off stump. He steers it to backward point. There is no run. So Campbell remains on 38. Brathwaite on 11, and Jimmy is just wiping his brow with the back of his forearm. Desperate to get a wicket. Of course, he did have Campbell given out LBW, but it was overturned on review. Amazed how many of those from Jimmy go over the wicket, because he's not great pace now and extraordinary bounce. Remember, was it Khawaja during the Ashes in Australia? They thought they had him. Flicks into the onside. This time they'll get a single to mid-wicket. That is Wood coming round to do the fielding. I'm trying to think, was it that game at, I seem to remember, was it Khawaja or it may have been Sean Marsh who went on to get a big 100. I think it was Adelaide.
Marsh got 100, I don't think, Marsh got 100, I think it was Adelaide, I think, in the day-night test.
Yeah, I think he was given out LBW when he'd got about 30 and was reprieved by the ball going over the top and then went on to get a big 100.
To be honest, that Ashes has almost entirely faded from my memory.
Yeah, well, mostly it has, but I do remember that. And remember thinking that might have made so much difference. But
I was trying to think back to when the last good Ashes series was. It's been a while.
Well, we were talking about it in the green room. I fancy Australia for the Ashes this summer, I really do. This one turns Brathwaite round ever so slightly, but he still squeezes out on the offside and will get a single from it.
Well, I saw today Stark's picked up an injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's out of the.
That's handy.
He's out of the limited overs tour that's going to India at the moment. I imagine he'll be back for the World Cup and the Ashes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if Australia can put out their strongest side, I just think they've got a very good chance. The bowling unit is excellent, and England are still looking for a top 3.
Yeah, well, possibly so will Australia be.
Only 3.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've got 1 or 2 options, haven't they? Got Renshaw potentially to come back in. Bancroft, this is new over. No, it isn't. It's still the same over from Anderson, but this one rose a little bit on Campbell. He played it well with soft hands and managed to jab it away through gullies. Hurried back for a second, and he's into the 40s. 41 to him, 57 for no wicket. End of the over. Anderson 8 overs, none for 31.
Arthurshire says, don't encourage tweeter commentator cage fighting as potential Guerrilla Cricket revenue stream. You'll give them ideas.
No, I don't you think with Warner and Smith back?
I mean, I'm wondering whether David Warner will come back or whether he gets KP'd.
I don't know. I think he'll come back.
But I mean, they're going in with Burns and Harris at the moment. Both of them are still trying to find themselves. Curtis Patterson Skulton runs against Sri Lanka, but it's very much a diminished Sri Lankan type. But I think it'll be interesting to see two sides going up with two batsmen between them.
Yes, I think the bowlers are going to hold sway, whichever way you look at it. And of course, as long as we don't get Jimmy running out of steam before that series. Here comes Moeen Ali into Brathwaite, who opens the face ever so slightly and eases it a yard or two in front of him.
And jump out of sequence to say this from Martin White, who says, "Re the Ashes, it is of course the year of the pig."
It is.
It is, yeah.
It is indeed. So yeah, that's something to be afraid of as well. In he comes again. Bowls. Oh, now that's turned and hit him on the pad, maybe flicking the top of the pad onto the thigh pad.
I think that bounced up into the thigh pad straight away. It's considerable bounce that Moeen got on that one.
Bounce.
It
was a good delivery. There was a little bit of turn as well.
A little bit of dip too, so Brathwaite couldn't quite get to the pitch.
So Moeen, none for 7. He's into his 4th over now, slipping a forward short leg, and down the wicket comes Brathwaite, and really lifts that into the outfield. He's going to be caught, is he? Yes! He is! He wanted to get it, I think, further round than that, but the fielder has come in from long on, and Brathwaite's vigil of 12 from 50 deliveries ends in the hands of Jimmy Anderson and in the wickets column of Moeen Ali.
Now you're gone.
I haven't heard this one before. I like that. Good catch by Jimmy, running away round from long on. I thought he'd got it squarer than that. I think he was trying to get it squarer than that. Otherwise it was a daft shot. But Moeen has finally struck, and England at last have a wicket. Hurrah!
He was beaten in the flight, wasn't he?
Well, he came down the wicket, didn't he? And I think if he could have just got a bit more bottom hand in that, it was quite an ugly lofted drive, really. There was a little bit of the slog in that, and I think he was getting a little bit nailed down and wanted to get on with it, but he has perished in
it's
pursuit.
unusual for Brathwaite to lose concentration and patience. It's not something you associate with him.
No, and of course he is leading this side as well, so that's not the best example to show, but anyway, we shall have Shea Hope coming to the crease ever so shortly.
Yep, get some tweets in. Mayank says Moeen should be a beard model when he retires. It's magnificent. Alan Hotchkiss says, is the bowling strategy down to root incompetence or Anderson and broad bullying him?
Don't know.
Jeff Perkins says, is Mrs. Rashid even pregnant yet? Or was Adil sent home for the minimum of 9 months for the birth of
So come on, Adil, get your act together. You're going home. It's time for you to sire.
It's his second kid.
Oh, is it? Exactly. I didn't realise. I thought it was his first.
God over money says in reference to Jimmy Anderson, dude's always angry. Laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji. Floyd says, what a series for Campbell. No massive innings yet, but always giving the West Indies a solid and fast start, which is something they've been missing for some time. He's a perfect partner for the stodgy Brathwaite.
I think it's his 3rd 40, isn't it, in this series, at least. Anyway, Shea Hope is at the crease, and this is his jingle. Now that's Shea Hope. Well, I think he's being called Shea Hope these days, so that doesn't really apply, that jingle, does it? I was calling him Shea all the way through the 2017 series. He's got a wicket! He's got a 2nd wicket in a row! And Campbell has got in the 40s again. LBW, he hit across that. And Dharmasena was quick with the finger. Was that just going down the leg side?
The big T.
Yeah, he's decided that it's going to be reviewed, but this is important for England. They really come back into the game. 2 wickets in 2 balls to get rid of both the openers, but of course this is all dependent on what the front-on ball tracker shows us. But it was Moeen again. Moeen's always involved in a game, isn't he? You never know when he's suddenly going to perk up, score you a quick 70, or pick up an important wicket, despite what the averages say. This looks a decent shout to me. He's played horribly across that.
The question is, has it turned enough? because it's hit him sort of on middle and leg. It only has to straighten a little bit, one would think, particularly as he's been given out. I presumably Campbell reviewed this because he thought it might be sliding down.
I'm going to say umpire's call.
In which case, it will stay out.
It
We
will.
shall see then. In front on it. It's very quickly given by.
Very quickly.
It might be right into
Can't see it.
umpire's call on the sort of outside half of leg stump.
And also, the wicketkeeper hasn't really moved. We're looking at ultra edge for the time being. There's no bat on that. Hey, I'm doing well. Look, I come in and I get a couple of wickets. I shouldn't have been sitting out there for that long. Well, we definitely there's no ultra edge on that.
Nope.
So I don't know why we keep rocking and rolling it. It's definitely not hit the bat. It was rather an ugly shot round the front pad.
Yeah, he planted the front pad and then just wasn't to the pitch of the ball and had to,
Here we
had to
go.
grope at it.
And then looking at the revs on this. A good few revs. Oh. Yes, it's straightened, but has it straightened enough? I think it's still got a way to travel, isn't it? It's quite a big stride he's got in.
Here we go.
Here it is. It's my guess is that is
Umpire's
just
call.
umpire's call. No, it's hitting.
Hitting. There
It's
we go.
hitting the top of leg stump, and Moeen Ali is on a hat trick.
One of these.
And as I said, Campbell goes again in the 40s. It was a nice little innings. Played 2 or 3 really lovely shots, especially off Anderson straight down the ground. But he's hit across that, hit all over the top of that, and he has gone. Moeen Ali, you are on fire, my man.
Yeah, he would join a select club to take 2 Test hat tricks if he manages to pick this up.
He will indeed.
Finished off the South Africa series with a hat trick in 2017, wasn't it?
Yep, John Campbell in 41, LBW Moeen, 3 fours and a 6. One wonderful 6 that he just whipped off his hips off Jimmy Anderson, which was a reminder, made you think back to the people like Gordon Greenwich and 1 or 2 others. So it's brought the England fans to life, and it's brought 2 batsmen to the crease who've yet to face a ball.
And this is the next man up.
Hat-trick ball then for Moeen Ali. He has the ball back in his hands, Moeen. What magic can he produce? What alchemy? Darren Bravo, of course, who batted forever in that second test.
50 off 216 balls.
Set up that win for the West Indies.
Believed to
didn't
be
he?
the slowest 50 ever in terms of minutes by a West Indian.
Excellent. Excellent. And against his own better nature as well.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, he's been, before his hiatus, he was a player who can dig in. He would score extremely slow hundreds.
What have we got now? The field has got a leg slip, a forward short leg, and then of course we have to see the England fans in the
There
pool.
was a gully and a sort of silly mid-off and a man on the 45.
Jennings is one of those in there, and this is Moeen coming in, hat-trick ball, bowling to Bravo. Bravo goes back, defends it comfortably enough to the man at silly mid-off, and of course, as ever, everyone applauds. There were men there with their phone cameras up, hoping to catch that moment when Moeen Ali got a hat-trick, but it's another one that's got away.
Been informed that our tea time guests have arrived as Jules Farman and Carl Ferguson from Cricket Without Boundaries, so I'll be talking to at tea.
Defended on the front foot by Bravo to the man at short leg, and that is the end of a double wicket maiden from Moeen Ali. He's now bowled 4 overs, taken 2 for 7. Hope yet to score, in fact yet to face. Bravo yet to score, having faced 2 deliveries. 57 for 2.
Ravi says reverse after timing, so which idiot decided to bowl Worcestershire's Moeen Ali before the Durham what's name chappie? Quite. Seagrave Saab says, I think Wood has been picked for his batting, or maybe as a spare reserve assistant deputy understudy wicketkeeper. Sister Rosie says, sitting at the hospice, finally breaking my dad into the guerrilla cricket world.
Oh, well done, sister.
Seeing as he listens more than he watches these days. Shout out to James Malone.
There we go. There we go.
Should we have a lesser spotted 3-second maiden jingle?
Have you got one?
He loved a lovely maiden.
I've never heard that one either.
Some of the ones we...
Where are these coming
Some
from?
of the ones we pulled from our...
Scraping the barrel of the jingles.
Tim
today.
has an idiosyncratic jingling style where he searches for everything. And so all sorts of treasures come up, which you can get if you go to guerrillacricket.com/archive and pay £20 a year.
First ball of a new over from Anderson. It's the first ball that Shea Hope has received, and he, in rather inelegant fashion, gets his bat down it on the line of on leg stump and pushes to mid-on.
a lot of the jingles we're having seem to be 80s in origin, don't they? I presume this is an homage to the current state of the West Indies England hierarchy.
Ah, yes, could be. Anderson, he's looking for a first wicket. He's charging in past umpire Damascena outside the off stump. Shea Hope hangs the bat out a little bit, but guides it to backward point comfortably enough. There is no run.
In my own homage to 80s of Tang Nakul in the green room beforehand, I had a wonderfully 80s sandwich yesterday, reliving my youth. It was seafood sticks on white bread with salad cream.
Wow.
Amazing stuff.
Well, actually, when you said it was from the 80s, it'd probably actually been left there, but knowing our kitchen...
Yes. Well, it can't have been because the bread wasn't mighty white.
Oh, right, okay. Or nimble. Is that why we were talking about nimble?
That's why we were talking about
there?
mighty white and nimble in the green room, yes.
Anderson, 3 slips in the gully, into Hope, bowls, takes the bottom hand off the bat as he manages to get it down onto the ball and turn it behind square on the onside. They run through for 1. He's off the mark. 58 for 2.
Controversial opinions quietly expressed from Arthurshire. Post sandpaper swingless Stark might not be in Australia's strongest 3 pacers.
Stark might not be in the strongest paces.
If he's not swinging the ball.
If he's not swinging the ball, I still think he's got enough pace, hasn't he? He's got enough about him.
I did say a controversial opinion.
It's true.
Travis Head has massive Chapelli, border ponting, reckless larrikin turned dead-eyed England killer potential.
That's a very good point, yes. No, I certainly agree with that. He's batted really well this summer for Australia.
Am I right to think that Travis Head is already the vice-captain?
He's one of about 5 vice-captains.
I see, that's how they're doing it.
Well, Mitchell Marsh was vice-captain at the start of the summer, now can't get in the team.
This is bowled across the left-hander, way too far outside off stump.
Sorry, I never saw the reason for having to announce a vice-captain. There's no practical advantage doing it. Surely it's just an indicator that you're not going to get dropped for a bit.
Well, it didn't work for Mitch Marsh in that case.
I always thought, certainly in the years that I was growing up, they were always vice-captains. You always knew who the vice-captain was, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think most teams do. Most teams don't tend to have 4.
Well, on the basis you've got so many, it's almost like, well, we don't actually know who'd be best at it, so we'll just...
It's like American companies, it's vice president in charge of.
Oh, yes. But why do you need to tell anyone that there's who the vice captain is?
Don't know, I mean, Josh Hazelwood's one of them, isn't he?
Yes.
He's another of them anyway. Here comes Anderson now round the wicket to the left-handed Bravo. Bravo's on the back foot, rather riding that one as it rises and seems to probably hit the index finger of the bottom hand. It's just a little painful moment for the new batsman, who's now inspecting that finger. He's taken the glove off, in fact, and he seems to be in quite a bit of pain. He may have been trying to fool us by putting on a brave face. Now it's really beginning to kick in.
Bravo at the end of the last test held up his shirt, and it was a throwback to Brian Close with all the bruises on his side. He got hit all over the place in Antigua during that marathon innings. Yeah, a little bit more about our tea time chat. We'll be talking to Cricket Without Boundaries, who are a fantastic charity who use cricket as the peg on by which they spread messages about fantastic social and community initiatives all over the world, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, also Jordan and in the UK. So we'll be having them on at tea to talk about all of that lovely stuff. Meanwhile, while Darren Bravo gets some attention, Ed Benson is with us. Finally had a chance to catch you guys. What with the 3-day test? Good to hear you all. He didn't even tweet that.
We heard that. Just heard that from Toronto. Actually, I'm really looking forward to that interview with Cricket Without Boundaries, because it's something I've thought about doing in my latter years, and I always wondered how it all fit together. That you go and use cricket as a educational tool.
Yeah.
It's educating about AIDS a lot of the time.
HIV, female genital mutilation, gender equity in all spheres of life, and yeah, they're an amazing group, and we'll find out all about them from Jules and from Carl.
Okay, well we're. Did anyone discover why this bloke is dressed as Charlie Chaplin?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's going to be a bit of a delay here, I'm afraid, because he's having to have treatment. Is he putting a bit of a plaster on it, or no? He's taking that off now, and the physio is looking at it once again. It's the index finger of the left hand that's troubled. He's being sprayed now.
The magic spray.
Most of the spray seems to be missing the finger.
Yes, good point.
Floyd says should have touched wood, and so forth.
Yeah.
Jeff Perkins says spin looking dangerous here. Joe Root's eyes gleam as he looks around the field, trying to remember when he hit Adil, only to finally notice Mark Wood in a distant paddock.
Yes. Well, I think that horse has bolted. The spin one, apart from Moeen Ali, or unless he's going to bowl himself.
And it's been put down because he's got equine flu.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that about at the moment, isn't there?
Cherry Hinterland, in response to Martin White saying it was the year of the pig, says ouch, also oink. Men with Ven says, why oh why, this is not points of view, why oh why do they keep showing the snooker from 1985? No, why oh why don't we boil down the pasty white folk that are always on camera and use them for soup at a food bank?
Gammon soup.
Sarah J. Looking forward to hearing Jules Farman and Carl Ferguson on T talking about CWB Global, which is Cricket Without Boundaries. Looking forward to talking to them. Seagrave Saab says, does that count as a batting collapse? It's fairly amateurish compared to some of England's recent examples, but we'll have to take what we can.
Well, it might go on. You never know. It may only be the beginning of the collapse. We can but hope if we're supporting England. If it was England, you'd say this was the collapse on, but they've shown a little bit more backbone, the West Indies, in their batting.
Yeah, I think Stokes and Butler actually batted pretty well yesterday.
No, I think I was saying off air, I was watching Stokes when he came in. He was on about 14 or 15, and I thought he really looks in the mood for this. I was hoping, as a man, probably the only man in guerrilla cricket, or person in guerrilla cricket, who missed his wonderful 200 in Cape Town, that I was going to see one of those great innings yesterday, but it fell a little bit short. But I still think he played well. Still think it was a good knock. And I think it was a better knock than Butler at the other end, although Butler did stay with him.
Butler's was an interesting one because he looked very confident before Stokes came in, and then barely got any of the strike, and so Stokes contributed 40 out of the first 50 in the partnership, and then sort of Butler finally got the strike back, and to his credit, wasn't bothered by having not been on strike for a while, and they grew into the game a little bit, and the West Indies looked a little bit short of ideas before the second new ball. They were bowling, Kemo Paul bowled one rather lacklustre over, and then they were bowling Ruston Chase and Craig Brathwaite for the last 9 overs, and Stokes and Butler were just milking them.
I have to say, Brathwaite's not a bad bowler for what he is. He's got a 6 for against someone,
he does.
I think. Yeah.
Ruston Chase has an 8 for against. Oh well.
Well, now, injury has been taped up, and we're ready to go. 3 slips to gully, a forward short leg, backward point, mid-off, mid-on, long leg, round the wicket, and full, trying to get a little bit of movement away. There is a hint of it, but nothing more, and it's left alone by Bravo. That's the end of the over, so we'll have another delay, and more tweets, hopefully.
No, I'm up to date with the tweets.
Well, I've got a maths challenge for listeners then. So,
okay.
As we know, Ed Benson is currently in Toronto. So, given that, and you said earlier, Knuckle, that he hasn't tweeted it, he just shouted it. How long, given sound travels at 330 metres per second, would Ed's shout take to get from Toronto to the studio here in Sydenham?
That's a very good question.
Show your workings. Method marks will be awarded.
Toronto to London in kilometres.
Brathwaite was out. Cord Anderson bowled Moeen for 12. Campbell, LBW Moeen 41. They went in consecutive balls after giving West Indies another good start, a 50 partnership or more for the opening wicket.
Yeah, it's only the chase of 14, where obviously they didn't need a 50 partnership, that the West Indies haven't had a 50 partnership in the series.
That's amazing, isn't it? A great, a big difference between the two teams, if you want to look at it that closely. So, Shea Hope about to face Moeen, I think for the first time. Just taking guard, scratching away. Ben Stokes is standing there at first slip with hands on hips, hoping that he might get a little nibble his way. And is Moeen going to stay round the wicket to the right hand, or is he going to come over? I think he might stay round. No, he is over. He's in, bowls, Hope goes back, and the swirl really works that out into the onside to deep mid-wicket, and they take a single. It's getting around that time when there's going to be a change in the commentary box. I'm only guessing because Katie has emerged, followed by Tony.
Followed by?
Anyone else? I'm going into the tweets chair very shortly, as West Indies have moved on to 59 for 2 with that single for Hope. Moeen now in his 5th over. Just the 2 close catches. He bowls, keeps Bravo more or less in his crease. He jabs down on it at the last moment. Ball that was already heading down the leg side ends up in the hands of backward square leg. We're into the 21st over of the West Indies innings. And in he is again, back round, of course, round the wicket to the left-hander. He goes back and pushes to extra cover. There is no run. And so what, we've had 8 wickets today already, haven't we?
Yeah, England was 5 for 21 as part of their 6 for 44 or whatever it was.
Not good again. Not good again. Moeen in bowls. He goes back. He's coming off very slowly. He's got plenty of time to just nudge that into the offside square. And again, no run. Trailing now by 218.
Knuckle, are you typing in on a calculator still?
Well, I worked it out in seconds.
I think it's 4.8 hours, roughly.
He's in again, bowls. That's given a little
For
bit
Ed
more
Benson
air.
shout, Tony, to reach London from Toronto.
Nicer delivery, that one from Moeen. It's just defended on the front foot by Bravo. Back to the bowler. 1 ball remaining, and we shall have a change. Windies 59 for 2. Moeen in. Oh, he really gives that one air, and it's driven in response by Bravo, but Joss Butler, I think it is there, at a shortish extra cover, diving to his right to prevent any runs. That is the end of the over. We'll have another reminder for you to give us some more money. And then I think, who's coming to the ball by ball chair? It's Tony. He's going to take you up to tea.
It's a family motto. Here it is. Show me the money. Show me the money! Congratulations, you're still my agent.
We left you with silence by the sounds of it. The Sound of Silence, that was a great song there by Simon and Garfunkel. And Tony, as ever, carrying his enormous...
How are you going to finish that?
His enormous...
Well, my first job is to untangle the spaghetti you left me with. And we have a change of bowling. Finally, it's Mark Wood.
Well, I'll do it what I can, but I can't use the
We are, of course, hoping there is no equine flu involved with his imaginary horse. And he's in, and that's wide. And actually, that drew a bit of a wafty old bat dangle from Shy Hope. But it was wide and into the gloves of Johnny Bairstow.
And here's the bowler.
Do you know Mark Wood? Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick. So just a normal guy. Of course, except for just one thing. What? He thinks that he's a horse.
Right. He turns again on a comparatively short run-up he has. 3 slips in place, and again he's past the outside edge of Shy Hope, who again kind of stepped onto the back foot and I think, to be kind, withdrew the bat. But he didn't look entirely certain. 2 new batsmen at the crease, of course, since Moeen Ali invited himself to the party. Hendo, I think a little bit disappointing that neither Anderson nor Broad could conjure up a wicket when we'd seen England floundering so hopelessly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, they beat the bat quite a lot, but didn't get the luck, I suppose.
Wood is in again for a quick bowler. He does get through his wickets quickly. Now, he's getting a fair bit of lift and bounce, which indeed is the reason for his inclusion in the side, that little bit of extra pace that he gets.
I think the problem with Wood is he doesn't really move the ball. It has to be all about pace or length and line.
145 the fastest this over.
Did he not remodel his run-up, I think, last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did. I think he shortened it a
yeah.
bit, as has Stuart Broad.
Does he not do that amazing thing where he does the kind of runners pushing off from... No,
not so much. No,
he doesn't do that now, does he?
It's what I call his Groucho Marx walk. As he drops this one short, and Shy Hope can duck out the way, and Johnny Bairstow can tidy up behind the stumps.
Well, I think there's a little bit extra that he's got here in pace that is making Shy Hope think a little bit.
On the one hand, I was surprised that it was left so long for him to come on. I suppose if you think your 2 gun bowlers have gone wicketless, Moeen's taken 2 wickets, and now you have got 2 new men at the crease. Probably, if you weren't going to bowl him now, when were you?
Yeah, no,
to be honest,
it's a good time to have bowled him. It's just surprising that it took such a while. But then Moeen's got the 2 wickets, hasn't he?
He's in again, right arm over, and that one is short wide, and it's taken on the outside edge to gully. Mark Wood has his wicket. West Indies are 3 down for 59, and suddenly once again this is looking a different game. I'm not sure it was a great ball. I'm certainly sure it wasn't a particularly great shot.
Yeah, well, I don't know what Shay Hope was playing at there. He was drawn into it was almost a half volley, and he's gone for the big drive, but he's got a thick outside edge. It's flown to gully. I think it's Rory Burns who's taking the catch there. And Wood, well, I'm glad for Wood because I watched him last summer and he just couldn't get it right in the early part of last summer, and now he's got a wicket on his return.
Well, he has a very slow, dejected trudge to the pavilion, does Shai Hope. Now, it's extraordinary, isn't it? We've spent the first 2 tests absolutely vilifying England for aggressive cricket, a lot of the time where they've been driving expansively outside of off stump and getting themselves out, and here, lo and behold, as if they've been watching England and suddenly uncontrollably have said, well, why don't we ever go at that, even though we've won the last 2? West Indies are doing much the same.
Yeah, well, I just thought in those first few balls from Mark Wood, you felt for Shai Hope that he was having a challenge that he hadn't had yet. That extra bit of pace,
which is precisely why Mark Wood is there, of course.
And it certainly, if it wasn't physical, it's certainly psychologically it's affected him there. With
but
that
also,
shot.
I mean, if you look at the 2 wickets, Katie, I think as well. If you think about the 3 that have fallen, 2 of them, you could argue the West Indies have contributed.
Oh yes,
in their own right.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, the shot to Moen, brilliantly taken as it was by Jimmy Anderson, probably didn't need to be played.
Yeah.
The LBW, fair enough, on review, but and again that shot, you know, a wafty drive early in the innings that didn't need to, and yeah, I would say 2 out of 3 has been dodgy batting. And only 1 probably through a particularly good delivery. Roston Chase, anyway, is the man who sounds like a Somerset village.
I was going to say he sounds like somewhere where a body was found in a murder investigation.
Yeah, I think you'll find. What is it, in sort of midsummer somewhere?
Yeah, a dog walker reported this morning that they had found a body on Roston Chase.
Yeah.
Here is his jingle.
Roston Chase.
He's facing Mark Wood, and he's got him! He's got him! Wood has 2 in 2! Drop short. Chase was onto the back foot. He was trying to get over it and push it and drop it down. It takes the outside edge. It's through to 3rd slip. West Indies are 59 for 4. Mark Wood is on a hat-trick next time he bowls, and I assume he will have the next over.
Well, I think that's actually been taken at second gully. They brought in an extra gully.
I think they're heavy. You're right, Hendy.
Yeah, they brought in a second gully. It was flying high to... It's Rory Burns.
Rory Burns again. Can't keep him out of the game.
He'd moved from the single gully to being the finer of the 2 gullies, and he's taken a catch once more. Caught Burns, bowled Wood. It could be one of those great partnerships in cricket.
Well, Burns and Wood, that's quite not a bad combination as well.
No, that's very good, isn't it? Yeah, pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, unless his name was Carpet rather than Burns. But
indeed, I just don't think that Roston Chase fancied the pace of that one at all. He got into horrible sort of square-on position and therefore couldn't control the back foot shot, and it went high to Rory Burns, as I said, the finer of the 2 gullies. So 2 bowlers who've taken 2 wickets in succession, and within a couple of overs we've had 2 bowlers on a hat-trick, which is incredible.
Well, yeah, and Wood will still be on a hat-trick because presumably Moen Ali will take the next over.
We've got we've got a couple of hat-trick jingles, which I'm tempted to play since we're on a hat-trick, since we're almost certainly not going to get a hat-trick.
That's too much tempting fate. I think you really...
But if you're on a hat-trick, that sort of counts.
Like the finest wine in your collection, they're there for a reason. You know, save them until you actually do need them.
We've got 2. Are we ever going to need 2 in the same match?
You just never know. Those occasions. Anyway, it's going to be Shimron Hetmeyer, a man who is famous both for his aggressive style of cricket and the variety of headwear that he often brings to the crease. Moen Ali is in, and Darren Bravo's nicely forward, just pushing this away into the onside. Yeah, well, there's senior man at the crease now. I suspect what he needs to try and do is just restore a little bit of order and calm, and see the West Indies through some non-eventful overs would be considered a result. Moen Ali is in. Hetmeyer is onto the back foot. There is a slip in place for the Bravo. There is a slip in place for the left-handed Bravo.
Well, I guess Moen Ali's going to quite like this as well, because he's now got 2 left-handers at the crease, hasn't he?
Well, indeed he does. Indeed he does. Hence the slip. Ali's in again, and Bravo is onto the back foot. Somebody shuts the window. I'm sure they'll reopen it any second now. And there it is. We just keep looking again at that, and it was that extra pace. It was just short of a length. and flew off the outside edge, and as Hendo rightly said, it was to second gully. So we have a forward short leg as well as a slip, and this one is worked to kind of deep, sort of middleish backward square leg, and there is no run. 59 for 4, 218 the deficit, and well, England will be feeling rather different about life at the moment. Bit of extra air from Moeen Ali, and tosses that one up. And Bravo just gets a big front foot forward and gets everything behind it. With his Stuart Surridge bat. He's looking up at the sky. Whether he's looking for divine inspiration or just to check the weather, I'm not sure. And Moeen Ali is again right arm around. This one is left to go through to the gloves of Johnny Bairstow. Once again, there is no run, and Darren Bravo really executing his brief, which is just leave the bad balls and steady the ship.
Well, I feel a bit sorry for Darren Bravo, having that incredible vigil in the first innings in Antigua, and now he's got to do kind of the same thing again.
Indeed he does.
He isn't going to be offered the chance to play any fluent shots right now. He's got to consolidate for the West Indies. Has Hetmeyer with him. They both, well, certainly Hetmeyer likes to go for his shots as well, doesn't he?
Well, he does. What's he got this series? He got 81, didn't he?
Yeah.
And 81 and 31 in Bridgetown, so he did very well there. And 21 in Antigua. Obviously didn't need to bat in the second innings, so with the bat he's made his runs fairly quickly, fairly aggressively, but he's also put scores on for the West Indies. Anyway, the focus of the mind now, the England team will be entirely on Mark Wood's hat-trick ball. And he's stood at the start of his run. He's tossing the ball from hand to hand.
Look at that field as well. That's fun.
Absolutely. He will be bowling from the pavilion end towards the media centre end.
Is he going to come round the wicket, do you think, like so many of the bowlers have done?
Well, yes, he is. He's going to be right arm around. There's 3 slips, 2 gullies, and Hetmeyer, his first ball faced, he just lifts the bat up, does what I call a helicopter leave as he rotates the bat above where the ball is going, and it's through to Johnny Bairstow. And Katie sadly will not get to play one of her hat-trick jingles, but time will come.
Maybe.
The time
but
will
the
come. It
is,
will happen at some point.
It'll probably be Stuart Broad, and on one of those occasions when no one notices that it's a hat-trick.
Oh yeah, we have to have that.
They do happen. Anyway, Johnny Bairstow, he's I'll tell you in a moment. Wood is in again. Right arm around, and he's through Hetmeyer. Again, it's that extra lift. He's just found that length where he's getting the ball to leap up at the left-hander. And, well, it was a coat of paint away from taking the outside edge. Again, just short. And Johnny Bairstow takes it, fingers up, above his right shoulder, diving away to his right.
And it was a beautiful seam position. It pitched right on the seam, as you would hope it to do, and just moved away a little bit. And... well, this is great to see from Mark Wood.
And we're 2 wickets for no runs. In he comes again. Drops his shot and fenced up by Hetmeyer. Mark Wood just holds his hands out as if in prayer. Joe Root has his hands upon his head. That could not have been closer to taking the edge. And Mark Wood is... well, he's just probably...
He's asking a lot of questions that Gordon Anderson really didn't ask.
He is, and I think it is that little bit of extra pace. It is that little bit of extra bounce. He's operating off that shorter run. He no longer does the Groucho Marx 2 or 3 first steps that we used to enjoy commentating on, or I certainly did. But my goodness me, he's still falling over in his delivery stride a bit, and he's done it again.
More than a bit.
He's done it again. That's 2 balls running. I think he's probably straining for that extra yard he did there, and this time Hetmeyer was able to just lean forward and push it away to cover, but the field is well policed on that offside, and there was no run.
Well, also you have actually got to look at the speed gun at the moment. There was a ball in his previous over which was 92.
Wow.
And I'm not very good at converting, but the first ball of this over was 152 Ks. Which
divided by what?
Well, that's more than
6/10, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than 92, I think.
Is it?
Well, because 160 is 100.
There's no doubt his tail is up. 149 Ks the last ball he's in again, and this one has Hetmeyer jumping onto the back foot, but he drops it down and sort of dribbles away into the onside, and again there's no run.
Let's get through some tweets. I think there's still 1 ball to go in this over. I'll get through them quickly.
There is
more Burns and Wood action, and somebody will be reported for arson, says Pirate Badash. Aldershire says England pick a better team by default than by actually thinking about it. Well, that's right, because he was brought into this squad at a late juncture.
Well,
The Goen Patiala says, how many times are these guys going to make us aim our cameras with a hat-trick ball and disappoint?
well,
A few.
in comes Wood. He's over the wicket, actually, to Hetmeyer this time, but it is through to Johnny Bairstow. Well, it's extraordinary, I've got to say. Yes, you're right, he came in late because of Ollie... I can't remember his name.
Ollie Stone.
Ollie Stone. But he was brought in specifically for the faster West Indies wickets because he can generate extra pace and bounce. And he hasn't had a look in. And now he has had a look in, he's got 2 wickets for no runs.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it suddenly makes you think that if we'd had this sort of pace for the whole series, that it would have been a very different series. They do look hurried and worried a little bit, especially as new players who haven't really even got into it yet. George DeBell has just tweeted that he bowled a delivery at 94.6 miles an hour.
Well, he's clearly got his tail well and truly up, and you know, who wouldn't if you're a fast bowler that's in a test match and has taken 2 wickets for no loss. Moeen has 2 for 8. And he gives us a little bit of air as he bowls to Darren Bravo, but Bravo is nicely forward and some lively fielding, but Hetmeyer at the other end had his bat safely down, 59 for 4,
and
218 the deficit.
If you're a genuine fast bowler, the West Indies is one of those places you probably dreamed of playing ever since you were a child. So
Just because of so many
the
wonderful fast bowlers from there. Moeen Ali is in again, he gets a bit of turn there to the left-hander, and Darren Bravo is able to just drop the bat on it. So we have 2 batsmen on naught, effectively having to rebuild this West Indies innings after, well, I think it was a disappointing start by England's bowlers. Hendo's right, there was the odd beating of the bat, but Moeen comes in. That one kept a little bit low actually, but once again Bravo just stroked it back to Moeen Ali, who fielded off his own bowling. But I think you'd have to say it was a disappointing. Anderson particularly was probably unlucky, more so than Broad, I think. Forward comes Bravo. He's just nudged away into the onside. Moeen Ali is able to just stroll across the field off his own bowling.
And then again, Bravo, who spent 215 minutes, was it, at the crease, or 215 balls getting that 50. He's yet to get off the mark because he's faced 20 balls.
He has faced 20 balls for nothing thus far. But that's probably at the moment not the issue. And now he will be off the mark because he's... No, maybe he won't. No, he stepped back to cut that away, but it was straight to cover. And that kept him in his crease and no run taken. So England also applying pressure, even if they're not taking wickets.
Oof.
Oh, Moeen, that was an awful ball. Which he got away with. Was that Joss Butler there? It was a horrible full toss at short extra, and it did go straight to Butler. So another maiden over from Moeen Ali. 2 for 8 for him.
I think Sister Rosie's cursing us for giving the English disease to West Indies.
Oh, dear.
Short third man, very good point he makes. Is there anything more anticlimactic in all of sport than a hat-trick ball that's just left or defended safely? That too when it is the first ball of a new over and there are 7 slips in place. Well, certainly 7 close fielders, that's for sure. Michael Wagner confirms that 152 Ks is about 94.5 miles an hour. The Goen Patiala says... I don't know what that's all about. Something to do with Italy North End, who's sitting in here, but I think there's some discussion going on between you. Save with the Bush Hospital says, what have they been feeding Wood? I've never seen him bowl with pace like this. well, look at that scorecard as well.
Absolutely. 12 to 41, and then Hope for 1. Well, it's disappeared in front of us. But here he is anyway, the man with 2 wickets, no runs. He's a right arm around again, and he's taken the edge, and it's just over 4th slip and gone away, and he's given away 4 runs now. But it's the streakiest, luckiest, dodgiest 4 runs you'll ever see in your life. It was just a hair's breadth away from a wicket.
You gotta have fun, you gotta have fun to
it's just over. It was Rory Burns again making the effort.
And again, it was that second gully, Hendo, that you talked about, rather than 3rd slip. I think it was a tip over the bar, wasn't it, in goalkeeping speak?
Yeah, I'm not sure he actually got a fingertip on it.
I thought he got some... Well, I'd like to see the replay. I thought he did get something on that. Anyway, let's see if Mark Wood, he's still going. He's got 3 slips, 2 gullies, a wide mid-off, which is the floppy. Early boy's taking the edge again! This time it drops short of 1st slip. Mark Wood's got the broadest, biggest smile on his face. He's enjoying his work here. As indeed is Joe Root enjoying his captaincy, that having finally decided to bring him on. I wonder if the back of his head is thinking, I wonder if I'd have brought him in a little bit earlier when the ball was shinier and younger.
Well,
what might he have done?
I think again, you get this situation. He's got a couple of quick wickets. The men in the pavilion haven't seen pace like this for a while, and suddenly, they're wafty outside the off stump, aren't they?
Well, they are. They are. And look at the puff of dust that brings up. Actually, though, to be fair, as we say, soft hands. Hetmeyer, I think, played that comparatively well. Right arm around, and this one is dropped short by Wood, as if to say, right, you get a dodgy edge, and then my first 4 runs conceded, take that, and he drops it short, and it climbs up, but as bouncers go, it was easy enough for Hetmeyer to avoid.
Yeah, I think that was he put absolutely everything into that.
He did, didn't he?
He pitched it incredibly short.
He put his back into it,
and then it was kind of tennis ball loop, wasn't it?
Yeah,
very short indeed, and. Well, I mean, on a pacey pitch, that would have gone ballooning over the wicketkeeper, I'm pretty sure.
You're right. Well, Hetmeyer was down like a shot, and probably there was a good 3 or 4 feet between him and his head and the ball in the end. Anyway, Wood's in again, and this one is very straight and correctly, with a full maker's name shown to him, batted back to Mark Wood, but no run. Again, well, did you see? I was convinced I saw a slight fingertip there, Hendo.
Well, I mean, yes, it wasn't. If he did get a tiny bit on it, then it's
a fingernail.
The
tip of a fingernail
could be quite painful. That actually,
it would be. It would be indeed. Yes, his speeds today. Typically, his ball, 60% of his balls between 135 and 145. 40% of them 145 plus. So he is really putting his back into this. And this one, though, is cut wide of that third slip. It might go all the way.
No,
it won't. It's drawn in now. They will have taken 2, and actually he was given a no ball as well.
Yeah, no ball.
Well, that's typical of a man who's just stretching, right?
I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
Well, yeah. I mean, his adrenaline will be flowing at the moment, won't it? So he's
so.
Putting everything into it. Probably bowling at 3 or 4 miles an hour more than.
And
his
actually, it was a fairly big no ball as well. I'd say a good 3-4 inches.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't want to get too excited here, Wood. You could give away a few runs if he gets a bit wild.
Well, his right arm around again and again. He's flat on his stomach. It must be something in his action, because it seems to happen at least twice and over with Marwood, doesn't it? That
he's got an enormous his follow through. The right arm comes down so far that he's almost constantly off balance. Have a look at this. This is a replay. Obviously, you can't out there in Radio Land.
That's the no ball.
That's the no ball. But if they show through to the full follow through, it's amazing how far his arm comes through.
And his back foot really dragging along the floor there.
Yeah, here we go. Look,
is this where he does? He really. He brings his bowling shoulder round, and his arm round, and his momentum just swings him off himself off his own feet, doesn't he?
Yep.
He's in past umpire Tucker again, and up onto his toes goes Bravo. Very similar shot, actually. This time I think it will reach the boundary now. It was wider third slip, between slip and gully, and 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I don't think England will mind the odd 4 now, whilst they've got the West Indies playing shots to a ball that's moving and bouncing.
Yeah, I think he fancied
it well, though.
I think he fancied it more against the. He's not bowled quite as well around the wicket to the left-handers. He bowled really well over the wicket to the right-handers. That wasn't such a good over. And again, the West Indies will learn quite quickly that really they've just got to get into line. And as long as the ball doesn't do anything crazy off this pitch, they can still get quite a few runs off Wood. He can be quite expensive. The ball coming onto the bat really quickly.
But this is really exciting bowling, though, isn't it? Like it is dangerous. He's going to concede a few boundaries, but every ball he's really asking questions with.
Yep.
Now at the end of this over, I shall tell you what's in store at tea. We won't be putting on highlights. We have some very interesting tea time conversation that we're very excited about. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about that at the end of Moeen Ali's over. Anyway, in the meantime, West Indies are 71 for 4. Shimron Hetmeyer on 7, Darren Bravo on 4, Moeen, who has 2 for 8. We're in the 27th over. There's still plenty of life on the ball. Moeen Ali has his slip and his forward short leg in place, and a little look at the offside field. Once again, bringing in, we have a sort of a shortish mid-off. and a kind of a slightly longer extra cover that I think Joe Root has put in place there. In comes Moeen Ali onto the back foot. Goes Hetmeyer. And there indeed is that man at extra cover, and there is no run.
Yeah, that mid-off is in an extraordinary position, isn't he? Very short indeed.
Yeah.
I mean,
not
when
quite
I said
the Hayden, although that's an on
No,
Hayden
no,
we talk
no.
about, isn't it? Rather, we're talking about the offside here. Bit of air from Moeen Ali, clipped off his toes by Hetmeyer. They will take a run there, or more of an amble. It's what our illustrious colleague Manny likes to call an agreed single. Everyone knows it's going to be a single. No one's really going to run to do much about it. So the batsman can amble it. The fielder doesn't need to hurry himself, and 1 is accrued to the score. So 72 for 4. And Ali skips in again. Again, that's a bit of air. Again, it's worked off his legs. Again, it's wider mid-wicket. They'll take 1. They will come back for 2, which they will make comfortably enough as the ball thumps now into the gloves of Johnny Bairstow. Rory Burns, the man doing the fielding. He's certainly been in the action today, but in a catching rather than a batting capacity.
Yeah, it's all been happening around Rory Burns in the last few overs, hasn't it?
Burns and Wood. Moeen Ali's right arm around to the left-handed Bravo. Bravo is very properly playing everything behind that big front foot forward, bat and pad close together, just pushed away into the offside, and there's no run.
I was just going to say
74
hi.
for 4.
I was going to say hi to the people watching on Crick Tracker.
Fantastic.
We've got
Ali is in.
Oh.
Bravo is back, and again there's no run.
We've got Saddam, Graham, Laura, Zahor, Ashu all watching and commenting. So
hello
nice
to you
be
all,
with
and
us.
the warmest of welcomes to Guerrilla Cricket. Moeen Ali, last ball of this over, skips in again. Forward comes Bravo. And that concludes the over. 2 for 11, Moeen Ali. West Indies 74 for 4. Let me just tell you a little bit about the exciting conversation we have lined up at tea time. We have Carl Ferguson and Jules Farman from Cricket Without Boundaries. Now they are a charity that uses cricket to promote positive health and social awareness messages. All kinds of things like HIV awareness in sub-Saharan Africa. They work with local cricket associations. They look at refugee support and help. They look at issues like gender equality. And they use cricket as the vehicle through which they can make all kinds of interesting and magnificent things happen. So they will be having a conversation with Nakul about exactly how they do that. And I think you'll find it's going to be of great interest. So there won't be any highlights of me mispronouncing the name of any Irish wicketkeepers. It will be a proper interesting conversation.
We put the Warren Dutram interview to bed for a little while.
Oh, it was under the Warren Dutram conversation. Was great.
No, I'm not saying it
was
wasn't.
in brilliant form for that.
No, it was great. It was a great conversation.
It's the match commentary. There's my bet noir.
It's just been heard many times.
Anyway, here comes Mark Wood. Right over, it's taking the edge. Oh, has he dropped it? He's gone. Second attempt. He's gone at first slip. Another wicket. 74 for 5. Hetmeyer's gone. Joe Root it was.
On your bike, mate.
And once again, it was that extra lift, that extra bounce, that extra pace. And it took the outside edge. Is that Joe Root there? He had a juggle. He didn't take it cleanly the first time. It popped out of his hands, but he was fortunate that it popped up, not down. Gave him time to collect his thoughts and make sure of it. He snaffled it the second time. Again, look, it's that extra lift, Hendo, isn't it?
Yep.
And Joe Root it is. He's taking it. Whoa, it's a horrible attempt the first time, but it just seems to just...
He had plenty of time.
Did everything that you'd want it to do if you'd made a cock-up of it the first time. It just took its time, went up, and popped down into his waiting hands.
Yeah, he was a little bit lucky. I mean, I think he got in two minds about whether to take that. Well, he ended up wanting to take it in the English fashion, which was with fingers pointed down, and it was right up around his armpit, his left armpit, and he didn't quite get the hands in the right place, and it just popped up. But it popped up off his shoulder, which meant it took most of the momentum out of the ball and settled nicely back down in his hands.
Well, it's also that's exactly the height where if you go Aussie style fingers up, English style fingers down, that's precisely the height you wouldn't know. Actually, that brings an early tee, I think, as that wicket. So 74 for 5. It has been all action here, I can tell you. 5 wickets down for the West Indies after England lost 5 for 21. I will quickly run through the scorecard as our guests will make their way to the studio. For the West Indies, Brathwaite was 12. Am I right? Yes, indeed. Brathwaite was caught. Anderson bowled Moeen Ali as he hiked one too long on. John Campbell was LBW to Moeen Ali. And then the introduction of Mark Wood with his very first ball. Caught Rory Burns, bowled Wood. Darren Bravo's not out on naught. Roston Chase, he went first ball. Also caught Burns, bowled Wood. And Shimron Hetmeyer has just exited the scene to a juggled catch at first slip. Caught Root, bowled Wood. So the West Indies 74 for 5. They're in a spot of bother. And Cricket Without Boundaries and Knackle will be the next conversation that you hear.
Thank you very much, Tony. Yes, we have our very special guests are in the house. It's Jules Farman and Carl Ferguson from Cricket Without Boundaries, who, as Tony rightly say, use cricket around the world to promote health and social and inclusion messages. So operating in various countries in sub-Saharan Africa, including Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, also Jordan, and right here in the United Kingdom. We welcome Jules and Carl to the mic.
Hello there.
Yeah, welcome to Guerrilla Cricket.
Thank you for having us.
Not at all. So, as we could tell in the green room, you two obviously both fairly cricket mad, so you're fitting well here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we can quite live up to the excitement of the last 20 minutes. In fact, as we arrived, the wicket started falling.
Yes,
so
indeed. Lucky charms.
Yeah.
So tell us about how. Well, firstly, tell us about how what Cricket Without Boundaries do. We've given it the sort of the précis of it, and tell us how you both got involved. Actually, and also what your roles are within the organisation.
So my role is I'm volunteer lead, so I deal with the recruitment side of things, so getting people involved and making sure people get onto projects and helping them through those projects from start to finish. Really, that's my role.
And my role is equality and inclusion lead, so it's making sure that the projects we do involve everybody, and also head up our refugee integration programs and our gender equality work as well.
So is the gender equality work? So that's. Does that filter into the recruitment process as well, or is that more focused on the projects within the countries that you guys operate in?
Both really. I mean, Cricket Without Boundaries is, as the name describes, without boundaries. We take in everybody who wants to get involved, and we want people to get involved, play cricket, and also sort of learn really important social and health messaging as well. So the gender equality work we do works partly in Kenya. We work with the Maasai Cricket Warriors, and then we do projects in the UK. So we work with Durham, we're working with Lancashire to get girls from lower socioeconomic backgrounds playing cricket, being active and having a safe space to sort of discuss their problems and get help. And then every project that we do actually just really embodies boys and girls playing together.
Okay, so that's fantastic. You wouldn't say that there is a typical Cricket Without Boundaries volunteer in that sense?
Absolutely not. Our volunteers are an amazing bunch of people. They are wide, they are varied. I mean, Carl, you're the recruitment lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly the point, that we like to reflect in our volunteers exactly the messages we're trying to promote. So all sorts of different ages, all sorts of different genders, all sorts of different experiences, backgrounds. Which is really powerful, because it means that we can reflect what we're trying to promote when we're out in the countries. Yeah,
I think that's vitally important, particularly at a time where women's cricket is on the up in a lot of places, but it might be under a little bit of threat here in the UK with as and when the 100 comes in, and it might be only about the 5th time we've mentioned the 100 in the last few weeks, but the Kia Super League is being cut. So I think of that. Are you guys seeing a growth in female volunteers kind of in the last few years, given the higher profile of women's cricket?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I first got involved, that was 2012, we had female volunteers coming on board. But I think more and more we've started to see females, and they're cricket players, but they're also people that have an interest in social and health messaging, all different backgrounds to wanting to get involved with just working with kids as well. Great.
So if you could... a lot of our listeners will be familiar with Cricket Without Boundaries, but if they're not, which countries do you operate in, and what are the projects that you've done and kind of over the last few years, and what kind of inspired, I guess, Cricket Without Boundaries to get going and particularly to use cricket as the hook?
Well, I mean, I think it's worth sort of giving you the history, therefore. So
Sure.
we started in 2005. 3 friends decided they were going to go on a bit of an adventure through Africa, and took 6 months off after graduating from law school, and they worked their way through Africa as they went, just coaching cricket. And I guess as they got to sub-Saharan Africa, they realised that there was the HIV epidemic that was ravaging the region. So they decided that they were going to they wanted to see if they could use the game to see if they could help in some way. And that is the short story as to how Cricket Without Boundaries came along. So they use metaphors within the game to reinforce the messages and social and health messages to keep children safe, etc., etc. And so they currently are active in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. We also have an ambassador in Cameroon, but obviously that's how it started off. But since then, it's as Jules no doubt can follow up, that we've moved away from Africa as well. Although we still run projects in Africa, it's starting to become much more global.
Yeah, so you started to pick up a little bit there. We have an ambassador program. So every time we go out to a country, we do coaching in schools and working with kids and in youth clubs as well. But we also work with teachers. We also work with local coaches, train them up to do the cricket and social integration and health integration messages. So there's an ongoing impact and a legacy. So once the 2-week projects are done, there are people trained up within the community to continue to deliver that work, and they feed and report back to us. So we have ambassadors in all our countries who continue to do that work, which is fantastic. And then we regularly when we go out there, we will hook up with them. They'll plan the projects, they'll say where we're going to go, and they're absolutely vital because they're our eyes and ears on the ground as well, and say what is the need of that community so we can continue to develop our projects. And then, so a couple of years back, got an email completely out of nowhere from a guy called Jamie Scattergood, and he said, do you fancy doing a refugee integration project working in Jordan with Syrian refugees? My day job is working with asylum seekers and refugees, so I thought, yeah, why not? So we ended up going out to Jordan in April last year. We hooked up with UNHCR, so that's the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and in Jordan, and a fantastic organisation called Right to Play in Jordan. And we started to do working with local Jordanian kids, Syrian kids, Palestinian kids, and basically any refugees really that are in the country. Just getting them all together, playing cricket, and just breaking down any boundaries, any stigmas because of their background and where they come from. And I think what was really powerful about that, there was quite a lot of females being involved.
Yes.
And in Middle East Arab cultures, not so often that you see females being active. So to see girls running around with cricket balls and bats, just enjoying themselves, it was amazing. And I think, the beauty about cricket, especially in a lot of the countries we go to, is that actually people don't have the conception like they have with football, like it's a man's game. They've not really seen it. So for everybody, it means that boys and girls just get involved and play together, which is so important with the work we do, whether it's the HIV work or whether it's refugee integration. And then more recently, we started to do work in the UK. I've mentioned with Durham and with Lancashire. And up in Durham, we also link up with the Girls Friendly Society. And our work there is more sustained over a longer period of time, with coaches coming in, doing regular sessions with girls, and again just trying to get more girls active.
Yeah, I think that's vitally important, particularly if you can create the message very early on that an activity is an activity. It's not something that is defined by your sex, defined by your gender. And if your first introduction to something is in a mixed, non-segregated environment, and I was going to talk about a lot of the countries you work in, like Cameroon and Rwanda, Uganda, Botswana as well, and Jordan. So Kenya is a cricketing nation and has been for a very long time. I think Uganda has a very large Indian subcontinental population, but that isn't necessarily the case in a lot of the countries you work in. Now, while that, I can imagine that might make it harder to maybe get the, that sort of initial explanation of here's what cricket is. Does that also make it easier in a sense that you don't have those preconceptions?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. That it's this. A lot of the messages we are trying to promote, that they're aware of. They're not brand new messages. But if you can incorporate into perhaps this game they've never seen before, or the game that they're just starting to learn, it ups their interest straight away, which is an incredibly powerful thing. So I think one of the most satisfying things is where you've embedded cricket in that region.
Yes.
And of course what we have is, and I think Jules has touched on it, we have an ambassadors program. So we have people that continue the projects when we're not in country, because we can only run projects for 2 weeks of the year. So those ambassadors continue to run the program when we're not there. And I think one of the most satisfying things is going back and seeing the development in that time. So if you've been into a school, say 1 year, and you go back the following year, and as you arrive, the kids are getting the kit out ready to play, and you can see this actually having an effect. So, and you know what? Sometimes, I'll be honest, it doesn't always resemble the game of cricket as we know it. But I think that's the beauty of it as well, and the fact that you realise how simple the game is. That actually you just need a bat and a ball and a bit of enthusiasm, and you can do all sorts of things. You know?
Yeah, we think of cricket in this country as a very resource-heavy sport. You need all this specialist equipment. You need these vast expanses of green space and all of this, excess water and expert knowledge just to get all this stuff off the ground. But if anyone who's ever travelled in the Indian subcontinent, for example, will know that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Having equally been out to India, you can play cricket literally just with one tennis ball, a bit of a wooden bat, and you can pick up a beer crate and tip that and make that into the stumps, and that's quite often what you see actually in the subcontinent. Is very, very ad hoc cricket games being played, and that's the beauty of it. It is actually it's a very simple game made sometimes unnecessarily overcomplicated. And I also think the beauty about it is actually when you go out on projects. I mean, I was not a cricket coach, never played a game of competitive cricket in my life, just quite like watching the game. And as a result of coming back, decided, you know what, I'll come and be a coach, not because I was an amazing coach, just because I knew the game of cricket inside out, just because I loved the fact that it really it captured kids' imaginations with such a simple game. And I think that's the other thing as well. We talk a lot about cricket, but actually when we sort of go out and do our projects, you do not need to be a cricket coach. You just need to have a sort of can-do attitude and willing to go for it.
So that's the message you want to put out to anyone who might be looking to volunteer. And if someone did want to volunteer with Cricket Without Boundaries, A, what projects have you got coming up through 2019, and B, how could they get involved?
Well, I guess traditionally, because we are called Cricket Without Boundaries, we inevitably attract cricketers, because that's how I got involved. You know, I continue to play, and an email just happened to drop into my inbox, and that's. But as Jules just said, it's not about that. It's about having an enthusiasm. So I think if you want an adventure, you want a desire to do a little bit of good in the world, and you want to go and see parts of the world, then visit the website, check us out. It's cricketwithoutboundaries.com. There's a volunteer page on there giving you all the information that you need and an application form. Fill it in, and we take it from there, really.
Yeah, we'll tweet out all of that information for you as well. If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Carl Ferguson and Jules Farman from Cricket Without Boundaries, who use cricket around the world as the hook, I guess, to spread health and social initiatives. Just talking about some of the initiatives that you guys run, the kind of the things that you're looking to combat, or the things you're looking to create. So you talked about HIV prevention, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, but that's not the whole story, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, the work that we do in Africa, we look at the work we do in Kenya with the Maasai cricket warriors. Okay, HIV and AIDS awareness is part of that, but we team up with them to deliver the anti-female genital mutilation messages. So it's
quite current in this country with the bill being what's the word?
Objective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the bill being filibustered yesterday. So anyway, but yes, not a problem. There's not all of these problems are unique to other parts of the world, shall we say?
Yeah, exactly, and it's happening in the UK right now because there's a recent conviction for FGM as well. It's the first conviction in the country. The work we do, working in Kenya, we've linked up with an organisation called 28 Too Many. We work with the Maasai Cricket Warriors, and we also support our ambassador Benjamin, who's a Maasai cricket warrior. He goes into the schools along with the rest of the team. I have to say, it's quite a sight to behold, seeing a bunch of Maasai men all in their traditional gear playing cricket. The pitch is a bit spicy in their area, sure. I have to say. And they talk about the importance of boys and girls playing together, working together to end FGM. So FGM was made illegal in Kenya a few years back, and there is education in schools. but actually on the ground, the practice of it is still quite prevalent in some of the more rural areas, and especially within the Maasai community. And what's the most powerful thing about the Maasai Cricket Warriors is that they're a bunch of young lads that are essentially speaking to their peers, saying that actually FGM is wrong, supporting the girls within their community, supporting gender equality. And our ambassador, he's prevented stopped his younger sister Nancy from being cut when she was younger. She's now finished her education. She's gone on. She's now a geography teacher.
Fabulous.
Which is, that's a really good news story about the work that can be done, and they've done it sort of using cricket and using those messages within their community. And I think that's really important, because the work we do at Cricket Without Boundaries, we just couldn't do it if we didn't have the people in country leading the projects, and we just support the work that they do.
Yeah, I think that's important, because it's very easy to be seen as a Western charity coming in and playing the saviour role, playing the white saviour role. We're going to come in from our advanced culture and saying this is how you do things. But I think it's very, very important and very encouraging to hear that that's not how you do things.
Which is exactly right. Which is why also, although predominantly we deal with children when we're out there, young adults. So a traditional project in Africa, for example, of 2 weeks, we would look to coach somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 children in 2 weeks, between a team of 7 or 8 of you, which sounds like an exaggeration, but I can assure you it's absolutely the truth. But that's just part of the project. The other part of the project is, of course, making sure that we leave a legacy, when we go, so that we do a lot of coach education as well.
Yes.
And wherever possible, those coaches will then we'll go to the schools where those coaches come from, and our absolute aim is to hand over to them. So ultimately, they are the ones running the session. And what's remarkable over a 2-week program is that by the end of it, the ones that have been with you all the way, they really start to embrace it and take it on, and actually you take much more of a backseat, which is so much more interesting and so much more exciting than just, like you say, do it like this, do it like that. Actually getting them to do it themselves is brilliant.
Yeah, and then the project becomes, in a way, self-sustaining. How often would you check in with those projects, with those ambassadors, with those people that you've trained up?
Well, some of our ambassadors work 25 hours a week for us, so they're employed, by CWB to do that. And so they will report back. Part of their role is to report back to us, so they tell us the numbers of children that they're doing, which schools they're going to. So we managed it. We managed that project to see how they're getting on, and then of course, as you say, when we go back, we actually see with our own eyes the development.
That's fabulous. Just on a lighter note, you guys are obviously massive cricket fans. Kind of, what are your first cricketing memories?
I think my first cricketing memory is watching when it used to be on the BBC, watching sort of Test cricket on there as a kid. Both my mum and my dad are absolutely mad cricket fans, both Kent and Surrey respectively. So I think I've just always kind of grown up in a household of cricket, and also a scorer as well. So just sort of learned to pick up bits of scoring along the way too.
I'm so glad you asked me that question. I still play cricket. I have played cricket all my life. I play cricket for Flitwick in Bedfordshire in the Hertfordshire Championship. But my first ever cricketing memory was vivid. It was in 1991. It was England versus the West Indies. And the world's greatest batsman, the one that's the finest batsman who's ever lived. You think I'm going to say Viv Richards? I'm not. I'm going to say the mighty Robin Smith. I remember watching him.
He and the punishing square cut.
Without question. And I remember watching him that morning and that afternoon going out to play for my school and mimicking every single movement that he did. The Robin Smith warm-up and stretch.
and from such tiny seeds, such acorns, huge oaks grow, such as Cricket Without Boundaries. Carl Ferguson and Jules Farman, thank you very much. While we replace the people on the mics, the players have come back out for the final session. Shane Dowrich has come out to face the music with Mark Wood on fire, having taken 3 very quick wickets. The Tony Bishop and Katie Scott will come in, and the next voice you hear on Ball by Ball will be that of Not Fred Titmus.
Hello. Yes, they've come out after tea, and this match is grippingly poised as the first ball after tea is, well, it's fished at outside the off stump. And the bowler is Mark Wood. Unsurprisingly, they have difficulty prizing the ball out of his hand at the moment. It was Dowrich, the new batsman, because of course a wicket fell from in the middle of that last over, so Wood still has 4 balls to bowl. Dowrich is the new batsman, and Bravo is at the other end. He has 6. The West Indies 74 for 5. They're still not past the follow on target, although they probably will do shortly. And joining me after the tea, we have reading your tweets, it's Katie Scott.
Hello.
And playing your jingles occasionally, it's Tony Bishop.
I'll be doing my best once I've worked out where everything's disappeared to.
Some things never change. Mark Wood has the spectacular figures of 3 for 12 off 3 overs and 3 balls. And no, that's iTunes. You probably won't find it in there. And he's bowled really well, hasn't he? I mean, and
he has. He's
at
looked
this
really
point,
penetrating.
everybody is thinking, yeah, we could have done with this guy earlier in the series, but listen, you never know. You never know. He's a little bit fragile, and even in this 3 over spell, he's looked to have pulled up a couple of times, and he's actually fallen down after delivering twice. So he's in again, Wood. He bowls a short ball to Dorich, which is a well-directed short ball. It was about